Man, it's been a moment since the intro rolled. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition here of 2025, the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast, episode 134 and counting. No, ladies and gentlemen, we are not gone. We're nowhere near to the chagrin or joy of the people. We are back after a little bit of a holiday hiatus for ourselves, taking the holidays off. So hope all of you listening and watching right now had a glorious, happy set of holidays, and a good first couple days into this year. We're 3 days into 365 days of 2025, and to say the very least, it should be a good time. And it's always a good time here on the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Myself, the Iceman, introing things per usual. Joining me, one of my compatriots of chaos, Justin, our games master. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. Last week, we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover.
Yes, we do. So we decided to take last week off to make things simple. And realistically, we were only going to get so much clearance in terms of everything last week. This week was the week to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, to say the very least. We're not doing it alone. Joining us, because he usually does, by contractual demand. But he is, of course, popular to the people. The Podfather himself.
Oh, man, I got to be on the bottom because the headlines aren't going to work if I'm not on the bottom, man. You got to put me on the bottom of everything. Thank you.
There
Put the headlines up.
We have completely fixed everything, ladies and gentlemen. This is a hit. He's oh, come on.
Well, no. Read it out from left to right.
Oh, adrenaline in his soul. He has blown this lead before.
Because we're talking about finishing the story, right? So obviously, we got to have a little bit of fun here now. But listen, my 1 year reign is coming to an end, thankfully.
I think it's mathematically over. It's just a matter of who will take the crown.
well, yeah, but I mean, again, it's not officially over until, the end of the season. So
true. Yeah, hold that title for just that bit longer.
Yeah.
But the Podfather is joining us here at the start, ladies and gentlemen, because me and Justin were talking about various other topics. I basically had my own mini rant podium before the cameras were rolling here, to say the very least. I gave a spicy take that Justin was very surprised by. In the sports world.
May I hear the spicy take since I've joined the show now?
Of course, yeah, sure. To me, and real quick, rundown for the people. As the title says, ladies and gentlemen, for the show, Sports Agents of Chaos, we will be going over the NFL Week 18 scenarios here in a couple of moments' time. We'll go over that. We have some fun little things to point out, milestone type stuff that the Podfather has shared with us over the last few days that we're just going to briefly go over about Week 18. Not too much discussion, deliberation, just cool little things that have been noticed from ourselves the last couple of days. And then after that, very brief Black Monday conversations because as tradition is, people for the most part get fired in terms of smaller, I'm sure, people behind the scenes of the organization, but especially the front-facing men, the head coaches and the general managers. Will have a brief convo about that. And then after that, we'll have the final rendition of this year's Pick Challenge and the Rant Podium, the first one of 2025.
I also do have to say that in looking back on this season, I think this is the third consecutive season, if I'm not mistaken, that an NFC South head coach was fired mid-season. And it was a coach that one of us wanted fired mid-season.
I was going to say, we're just muddy with that division, eh?
Yeah. So, I'm still waiting for my Todd Bowles hit to happen, but, that's the only one we're missing.
Next year could be the year.
Yeah, it could be. You never know.
Because last year was Carolina.
Well, no, Matt Rule was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. This season was Dennis Allen.
Yep.
And last year was
Arthur Smith too.
True.
Justin wanted Arthur Smith gone. He got his double wish, and then Frank Reich just happened to be the fourth guy.
Yeah,
it's like that story of a guy who wanted the baseball signed by all of Murderers Row of the Yankees, and his final autograph was Mickey Mantle, and he got Mickey Mantle's autograph, and at the same time Billy Martin came over and said, "Yeah, I'll sign your ball too." So he had Ruth, Mantle, Maris, and Martin.
Yeah,
Frank Reich is the Billy Martin of this conversation.
What a comparison.
Yeah.
Nice. But we will be doing that, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, we must start with the games of the show. But before that, very quickly, my hot take. This is not a football hot take. This is a basketball hot take. And my basketball hot take is that I think following this season, I believe Pat Riley should no longer have a hand in the Miami Heat's basketball operations decisions.
Well, that's not where I thought you were going, but okay.
I think the breakdown of what's happened with Jimmy Butler, who to me is the premier Heat player, like archetype, a guy who funny enough, Justin told me he thought Jimmy would be ending his career in Miami. Here's the thing. I didn't think Jimmy was finishing things off in Miami. I didn't expect it to fall apart in this way, to say the very least. I think after this year, Pat Riley needs to take a full step back. It needs to be just fully and solely Andy Ellisberg who gets to make those decisions and gets to be in the negotiation rooms even more so. And let's get Andy Ellisberg his own top-tier assistant general manager, whether it's promoted in the organization or not. I hate to say this about a man who has very much brought me success and joy in my life as a basketball fan. But genuinely speaking, I don't see a way where the Miami Heat are going to have any shot of doing anything over the next few years with Pat Riley still having too much of an influence on this team. I really don't. So
I thought you were going to say, justice for Jimmy is going to be the new hashtag in Miami, but that kind of aligns with what you were saying there. I'm also surprised that you were saying that because I had a feeling that Tyler Hero was going to be your guy. So,
dude, Tyler Hero, I've critiqued him plenty. These two know it from the Heat playoff run a few years ago. I was very critical. I know Tyler Hero was injured for the context for the people, but I was very critical of Hero before the postseason and then the year after, so last year. Tyler Hero's done his job this year, man. He's played about as well as you can expect the kid to play. His numbers across the board are fine. I think he's going to be one of these guys that the question of his future in Miami will just be interesting because, is he going to be one of the people that doesn't like what's happened with Jimmy? I think the ripple effect for this team is the fact that a locker room that's not really that special. That's a good one. Is this just going to be an impact that costs significant things for this squad? So maybe. I don't know. My Miami Heat fandom, which has taken so many hits over the last year and a half, it's not an easy end to the podcast.
That's rough, man. That's rough. Rough for you.
Yeah. But hey, McLaren won the constructors this year, so at least I have 18
points. Oh.
Yeah, buddy. I always find a way to bounce back.
Sure.
Anyways, let's have some fun with games here to start things off, ladies and gentlemen, after my mini rant podium there. It wasn't even really so much of a podium. It was just a rant one seat. Let's have a bit of fun. Podfather.
Yes.
You talk about blowing leads in that sub headline there. Let's talk about blowing the minds of the people with a mind-blowing fact of the week. It's been a while.
It has been. I think you're going to enjoy this one because this is something that I learned relatively recently, and it's a pretty good story behind it. But I want to tell it in a way that makes sense for this segment. So allow me to go into the storybook mode for this one, gentlemen. The year was 1959, and a young toy maker named Andre made his way to the International Toy Fair in Germany with a toy that he thought would make, waves. At the International Toy Fair, Andre had his toy and brought it over to all the companies that were there to no avail. Nobody wanted this thing. There were issues with it that people didn't really like about it. He brought it to a company based in Ohio in the United States. And on the first glance, they said, no, we don't want anything to do with this. The second glance, they thought, you know what? Maybe we can run with it and see if we can try and look at this. Well, from this toy, this sketch, basically, came a toy the 1960 Christmas season that was provided with a televised advertising campaign. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to 25 years later. The Ohio Art Company is struggling, and this toy has been through a lot of redesigns and a lot of recommissions because of some safety issues. And this toy is the one saving grace for the Ohio Art Company, and they are struggling. They are near closing at the time. Well, the toy and the company got the attention of some animated filmmakers who said, we're doing a brand new concept for a movie. It's going to be our first big feature film, and we want to include your toy in the movie. And the company said, okay, what do you have in mind? And so they pitched this scene where the toy has a 12-second spot on screen with the main character. And the company said, okay, sure, let's go ahead. Let's run that. Well, this 12-second scene was enough to give the Ohio Art Company the boost it needed at the time to save itself from bankruptcy and shutting down. Because the production out of this toy met the demand, to basically sell this toy further. Fast forward 4 years later to 1999, the Ohio Art Company once again is on hard times. That one little burst didn't really do the job of staying power. And so the company reaches back out to the animated filmmakers who are making a sequel to their first movie at the time. And they say, hey, listen, we'd love to be featured in this again. What are you thinking of can we work with this? And so they create a scene where 45 seconds into 12 seconds, they create a scene where the toy prominently features in displaying the incident with the main character, the kidnapping of the main character. And so they put this scene in the movie, and then this scene results in the sales of the toy increasing by 20%, saving the company, which then later allowed for it to become a nominee and an inductee into the National Toy Hall of Fame in the mid-2000s. Gentlemen, the story I've told you is about the Etch-a-Sketch. And the movies, of course, were Toy Story and Toy Story 2. So because of that two prudent business decisions, a toy that we've come to think of as such nostalgia was saved for generations to come and put into the National Toy Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Because the Ohio Art Company took a chance on the little company known as Pixar. And then Pixar returned the favor in kind by making their toy a mainstay. And if I had my office back here, I would have pulled out my Etch-a-Sketch that I still have from the mid-1990s when I got one in the Toy Story craze.
Nice.
There you go.
I most definitely... I want to say I probably did have an Etch-a-Sketch as a kid, but that thing definitely did not stay. I'm nowhere near having it at this point. Even back in New York, it's gone to the sands of time.
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is that the recalls that happened were because the original design of the Etch-a-Sketch had a glass plate where the drawing board is, but obviously now it's plastic because they realized, if kids are dropping this as glass and it breaks, that ain't good for anybody.
Then you have broken glass.
Exactly. And that's everyone's favorite toy to play with. So,
yeah, well, it's every child's second favorite toy, second behind a fork and an outlet. Anyways, fantastic stuff.
And third behind rusty nails.
Of course, with a glass pane.
Yes.
Maybe broken. But in all seriousness, what a tale that is weaved, ladies and gentlemen. Another fantastic, mind-blowing fact from the pod father himself. The people's brains have just been, they've acquired knowledge there. They're going to acquire a little bit more, but the real test now is going to be between me and the Podfather because, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in 2025, the staple of this program, it is time for another rendition of Name That Player. Yes. I can't tell if Justin's sick of us the way we intro this.
He's entertained by it. Come on.
I am very entertained.
Yes.
All yours, Justin.
All right. So, for today's Name That Player, we're going to take someone who is celebrating their birthday this week, not 2 days ago. This player was a 6-time Pro Bowler and a first-team All-Pro once in their career, drafted in the second round by the Detroit Lions.
Interesting.
Second round Lions. Birthday 2 days ago, so New Year's Day. Wait, can you repeat? What were the individual accomplishments again?
6-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro.
Six-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro.
See, they're so good over the last 2 years, but so many Lions players' names coming into my head are guys who were drafted in the first round. So I need to like parse through all the first rounders to try to get to a second rounder.
Well, it couldn't have been someone in the last 2-3 years.
Obviously.
No, I know. No, I'm saying that the last 2-3 years make you forget when you go farther back. This team had a lot of first round picks.
Yeah.
So you have to, and like the first round picks, there were a lot of hits. There were some misses, but there were a lot of hits with the first round picks, right? You got Stafford, you got Megatron. Some people may argue this, but Ndamukong Suh was a phenomenal player, like, right?
He was a good player.
And then you had guys who not so much in terms of that first round pedigree that they lived up to, like Nick Fairley, right? Is the first name that pops to mind. He was a good player. He had like a very brief time, but just wasn't able to. And then who is that type? Oh, no, never mind. No, I already thought of it. There's TJ Hawkinson, who was a good player, just got too injury prone in Detroit. Then suddenly has a clean bill of health in Minnesota.
Yeah, that would do it.
Well, except this year, actually. So last year, he had a clean bill of health.
See, the thing is that, it's harder basically to say, second rounders, because there's not that many second rounders that I would say that would have accomplished that 6 Pro Bowls.
And it's specifically one first team All-Pro.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like the history of like second round picks for the Detroit Lions, and there are a couple names that come to my mind that I can eliminate right away because they have no shot whatsoever of being anywhere near those things. But I can give you names that way we can have some fun with some of these guys.
Okay.
So just because I think I have the guy in mind, but I do want to advance it forward. I don't want to go one and done because I think Justin would not appreciate that.
Right.
So let me it has. Let me give you a fun first guess that I know is incorrect, but I want to make things fun and make things hilarious. Jurg, I think you'll enjoy this one immensely. The pride of Michigan State, Drew Stanton.
Wow. It is not Drew Stanton.
Yes.
So in similar to the Podfather, I did come up with a name. This is the first Lions second rounder that popped into my mind. I know 100% it's incorrect because he definitely didn't hit any Pro Bowls in his career, nor all pros. His career was very short-lived. I don't even know if he went to a team after the Lions or if his career just after he left Detroit. But Titus Young, former.
Ooh.
That's a name, eh? That's a name from the 2011 draft class.
Nice.
I think it was 2011, 2012, somewhere around there, right?
It is not Titus Young.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't.
Great name.
We'll move forward. This player from Brunswick, Georgia, in high school was a multi-sport athlete, lettered in football, basketball, and track and field. Originally went to junior college before transferring to Mississippi State before being drafted by the Lions in the second round.
Yeah.
They've played for 2 teams, and they've had a couple of large injuries, although it hasn't resulted in a large amount of time missed. But yeah.
Was 2013 the year Dak Prescott was drafted also?
No.
Or was he earlier than that?
No, Dak Prescott was way later. He was like, I want to say 2015 or 16.
Oh, okay. They might have been teammates.
I was going to say Dak was definitely. I think Dak was the same year as Zeke, if I'm not mistaken.
But they were still teammates in college, though.
In theory, if Dak came out 2016.
If this guy was drafted in the 2010s, then he definitely was a teammate of Prescott's.
Right.
There's one guy that I know from Mississippi State, outside from Prescott. Actually, I know 2 because one of them back in 2013, I actually worked with up in Albany after the Mississippi State baseball went to the College World Series. That's another story for another time. So I do know one other name. My other funny name, by the way, was Ryan Broyles.
There you go.
But Mississippi State, he did not. He went to Oklahoma. So
if Rick wants to get this one wrong on purpose, so we get to the last round of it, I'll say
Broyles. Get it wrong on purpose. Just you got to do.
Well, listen. I mean, I think it's high time for one of my New Year's resolutions here, which is to let Justin finish out 3 rounds of guesses, in name the player because again,
you guys once,
he's
maybe one
he's
time.
you know what it is though. He's done the research on it, and so I figure it's only fair that we can allow him to expound his wisdom and his knowledge on all of us. So that way, we don't look like schlubs for knowing guys that he knows and then, just doing any of that. So, I have the guy in mind, but I'm going to deflect it. So I'm going to think about another Detroit Lions second rounder that I might know of at some point, or maybe just.
I'm gonna have some fun for mine. I don't know if he was a second rounder, and he definitely hasn't achieved these achievements yet. But it's just fun to say his name, Frank Ragnow.
Ooh,
It is not
Frankie.
Yeah, I'm gonna search up Ragnow real quick because I didn't even know if he was a second rounder. He may have been a first.
Who you got, Rick?
So he hasn't gotten the 6 Pro Bowls.
First rounder.
He was a second rounder. Funnily enough, he was drafted by the Lions, but he didn't make a lot of play for the Lions, though. Kyle Van Noy.
Oh,
he was drafted by the Lions. Jeez.
Yeah.
He is not Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah.
But I like where your head's at, Rick, because it is a defensive player.
There you go.
They were the NFL interceptions leader one time in their career. They've had a number of different playoff appearances. And I'm not going to give too much more because I'm just assuming that you guys know the answer already.
Yeah, the second you said
known for his big playability.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say he's got a nickname of Big Play, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So yep. Darius Slay, I think, is the answer we're looking for.
Well, Rick properly, Darius
Slay.
Big Play Slay. Yes, Darius Big Play Slay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I also, you know who else was a second round pick by the Lions that you forget?
Who?
The year after Kyle Van Noy, and this would have been my third funny guess because I would have said it like the professor and the water boy, Abdullah Ablangata.
Oh, Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny. The Lions back in the mid 2010s, they really didn't hit a lot on first round guys. If you think about it, but second rounders.
Well,
3 years in a row, Slay, Van Noy, and Abdullah. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. But then you compound that with some of the first rounders they had who were one and dones in terms of good years. Had. Like I mentioned Nick Fairley, Ziggy Ansah. Don't forget about him.
Eric Ebron.
Oh.
And then Laken Tomlinson in 2015.
Jeez.
Don't forget him.
Is Tomlinson still in the league?
I think he is, but I mean, what has he done?
Good. Fair point, sir. I'll give you that.
1 point to Rick. There you go.
1 point to Rick. He was a 49er last I knew.
Yes.
Is he? Oh, he is a Seattle Seahawk. He was a Jet 2 year for 2022.
Don't remind us. Don't remind us of that. Any offensive line that the Jets that has Laken Tomlinson starting for it is like an offensive line that has a Vlad Dukas starting on it. It's like no one really wants to talk about it anymore.
All pro potential in Madden, Vlad Dukas. Come on now. It was so easy to get him in
Madden with 1D. Knock off Madden.
Oh, beautiful stuff. So, Justin, resounding edition of Name That Player to begin the year. It's going to be a good one if we're busting out Big Play Slay for the first edition of the.
I'm excited, man.
Yes,
I'm excited to see where this goes the rest of the year because that's a good just start off point. It's a good jumping off point. I like that.
Absolutely. Speaking of jumping off, we've jumped off. Let's jump in to the main discussion points of this show. The Week 18 NFL clinching / important games that we're going to be discussing here. We started to make notes of this going back the last couple of weeks in terms of looking ahead of things, looking at the playoff picture. The playoff picture is just about set, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time that we look at what still needs to be done before we get to postseason football. Quick run through of things for the beautiful people. In the AFC, clinched is the number 1 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs. Secured in the number 2 seed is the Buffalo Bills. So both of those teams very much expected to be resting starters here in the final week of the season. The Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills taking on the Patriots. We'll get back to that Broncos here in a moment here. Don't worry. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns. It is a pure win, and the division is yours scenario with them. The can only get the 3rd seed, so they'd be matched up against whoever the 6th seed could be, which, funny enough, it actually could still be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they might face them a 3rd time this year, depending on how things shake out. The Houston Texans, they cannot move up. They cannot move down. The AFC South belongs to them. It is expected that they're going to be resting their starters. I think logically, considering how downtrodden the team has been this season, they should probably play them at least a quarter and a half just so they're not too rusty, and then sit them for the rest of the time. But I'm not D'Amico Ryans and co, so we'll see what they do. 5th seed Pittsburgh Steelers, just mentioned them. They also have a scenario. They need the Ravens to lose, and then they need to defeat the Cincinnati Bengals in order to claim the AFC North for themselves. They're locked into the playoffs no matter what. It's just all about, are they going to win the division, and then about playoff positioning for them after the fact. Which, fun fact, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get a very quick answer to this because tomorrow's Saturday games are the 2 games I have mentioned, both on ABC at 4:30, Browns and Ravens, and at 8 o'clock, Bengals at Steelers. Oh, it's going to be some good football in that second game. I don't know about the first one, but the second one, it's going to be some really good football to say the least. So there is that. And then the 6th seed, the Los Angeles Chargers. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh and the potential Coach of the Year push that he has put for himself, to say the very least. They have the potential to go up to the 5th seed if they win in the last week of the regular season here, and the Steelers lose because they are taking on the Vegas Raiders in Vegas. We'll see how hard Harbaugh pushes the starters here. We'll see if he learns from Brendan Staley decisions past about playing his best players too late into the last week, whether it's really worth it or not. And then the 7th seed in the AFC is still up for grabs, and it's glorious, ladies and gentlemen. The Denver Broncos at 9-7, the Miami Dolphins at 8-8, and the Cincinnati Bengals at 8-8 are all still in the conversation. The Colts could have been in the conversation at 8-8 if they didn't let the Giants win.
Someone's better.
Not at all. Well, Pat McAfee was for sure, to say the least.
Well, there you go.
But me not so much. It's funny that someone outbittered me in terms of the Colts losing for last week, but Pat would be the guy to do it. The Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Broncos, the situation is as follows, because the Dolphins have the tiebreaker over the Bengals, and they are just behind the Broncos. What needs to happen is clear and simple. The Broncos just need to win, and they lock in their playoff spot no matter what. I believe actually a tie might help them as well, if I'm not mistaken. If they tie,
I think a tie clinches as well.
Yeah, so they need a tie or a win against the Kansas City Chiefs backup players. Unless we really, the Chiefs are going to be sitting everyone in this game. They need a tie against the Chiefs backup players in order to just get their spot at minimum. The Dolphins need to win, and the Broncos have to lose. Bengals' result does not matter for them because they are beating the Bengals based on tiebreaker. So if the Dolphins win, doesn't matter what Cincy does. The Bengals need to beat the Steelers, need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets, and need the Broncos to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs B team. This is what happens when your defense lets up 40 points, when your offense gets you 35, but, lessons for the future, Cincinnati. Lessons for the future. So that is the AFC playoff picture side of things. Shall I move on to the NFC, boys, or do we want to stick and discuss the AFC here very quickly?
You can move on to the NFC. I think we could do both. We can do both at once. Yeah.
Let's go through the NFC. And the NFC, very interesting to say the very least. Because while in the AFC, the 1st and 2nd seed are clinched, not so much the case for the NFC, to say the least. And certainly not least because the NFC has seen a lot of good football this season. We know that the top seed in the NFC North is going to belong to an NFC North team. But which NFC North team? Because despite the fact that the Detroit Lions have gone 14-2 this season, it's not enough to give them the ability to rest the guys in this final week 18. Because the Minnesota Vikings, after very brief losses at the midway point of the season, one of them being to the Lions earlier this year. Funny enough, they're one loss in the division play so far. It'll be Lions and Vikings. I believe it is the Sunday night game, so it is the last scheduled game of this regular season to decide. It decides the NFC North. It decides who's the 5th seed, a.k.a. probably eliminating Tampa in the first round, or Atlanta, whoever gets that. And it's deciding the top seed in the NFC. Does the NFC run through Detroit? Does it run through Minnesota? And Jesse the Mind Ventura should show up to one of those games. But it is the Lions, Vikings in a hotbed of a game here in Week 18. And it's in Detroit. Ooh, that should be so good. Should be good to say the very least. The Philadelphia Eagles are locked into the number 2 seed. They are projected to and have already said as much that they're going to be resting players, which we'll get to in a moment because a record could have been broken if a starter would be playing, but it looks like it's not going to be the case. The Los Angeles Rams, Justin and I were discussing this a bit earlier. It may actually be a situation where the Rams aren't necessarily 100% locked into the third seed. So there could be some effort by them here in the last week, because I believe if the Rams lose and the Bucks win, I think the Bucks would catapult to the third seed, because the Bucks would then have 8 conference wins to the Rams only 6, or no, 6. Yes, I'm right there. I was misreading things. I was looking a spot down in Minnesota. So the Los Angeles Rams kind of have something to play for, but the division is theirs. Their playoff spot is secured. It's about 3rd or 4th seed. It's a tough matchup no matter what. We'll see what Sean McVay and co. end up doing in this Week 18 game, which is against a man who is his Ring of Honor case maybe up for doubt. Questions to be answered here in the upcoming offseason as the Seahawks take on the Rams in Week 18. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be taking on the New Orleans Saints in Tampa Bay as they look to clinch the NFC South. It's a simple one for them. They win or they tie, actually. I think a tie does them good. They tie or win. The NFC South belongs to them. The Atlanta Falcons, who are the last remaining team outside of the playoff picture as constructed, they need to win and they need the Bucs to lose. Simple as that. The Vikings, of course, as I mentioned, they're fighting for it all. The Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers are 6 and 7 respectively. They actually, no matter what, well, if they're tied after this week, the Commanders have the tiebreaker advantage over Green Bay because they have 8 conference wins right now to Green Bay's 6. So if both win, if both lose, they stay at 6 and 7 as is. But there's definitely could be some motivation for the Commanders to want to go into Dallas and spoil the end of the Cowboy season for them. The Green Bay Packers facing the Chicago Bears in Green Bay, maybe one last time to lord over little brother before the end of the year. So that's a lot of that's actually a little bit more football than we would think matters here going into Week 18, which we're very, very happy about, mind you. And of course, I need to obligatory mention some of these matchups just because it's my kind of competition that we're seeing. But games such as the Bears, Packers, Dolphins, Jets, the Eagles, Giants game, the Colts, Jaguars game, that Bills, Patriots game, and that Texans, Titans game. All of those, ladies and gentlemen, have more impact than what we think, because one of these teams will get the honor and privilege of firing their head coach, to hire Deion Sanders, to draft Shador, to trade 3 first-round picks for the second pick, and to get Travis Hunter. That is the funny meme scenario I've made up. And we were going to do a running bit, but I think I basically just said the same thing that would happen for all these teams. But in actuality, the first overall pick is very much still on the line at this present juncture of the season. We'll see who's getting that first overall pick at the end of this week as well. But let's get to the games that truly matter in terms of the playoffs, boys. Let's run back to the AFC here real fast and go through that scenario first. Let's go through one big thing at a time. Well, let's start with Saturday, right? Let's start with tomorrow's games.
Yep.
Justin, throw it to you first. In terms of the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, Bengals, we know there's a lot of playoff lives on the line there. I think the simplest way to ask this question is, will the Ravens sew up the AFC North in that first game?
I think so. I mean, it's the largest spread we've seen in a long time. ESPN has it as minus 20 right now. It's a meaningless game for the Browns. They are not even starting Jameis Winston. They're starting Bailey Zappi, who I don't know what his experience is on Cleveland right now, but I don't know how he's going to do. But the Ravens need this game. They should run all over the Browns. I expect them to almost sit most of their players in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
This
Ravens defense is going to...
The one I'm interested in is the Steelers-Bengals. That was a barn burner last time. I mean, it was pretty indicative of the Bengals season as a whole, if you think about it. The Steelers jumped out early to a big lead. The defense really didn't do much to help the Bengals at all. They caught up. They came out in the second half firing. Joe Burrow had a great game, but the defense never really did anything, and it's the reason why they ended up losing that game and giving up, I think, 5 touchdowns to Russ.
Yep.
Something crazy like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. But even with that, the game doesn't matter. They need a lot of help. I don't know if the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins, but this is the best chance they're going to have
Right.
to get a win and ruin their draft pick for the rest of the year. So this would be the one that I would think that the Jets have a chance at helping them out. And then they still need help with obviously the Denver Broncos needing to lose to the Chiefs backup players, which is not impossible, but something that I wouldn't consider very likely.
Right. And while I say backup players, realistically, there probably are going to be some starters playing in that game for Kansas.
Very few, man. I mean,
well, two counts as some.
I know, but like you're going to need to have some players to make sure you have a full roster, but like it's not.
I think legitimately in the English language, 2 is a couple.
Some
three is several, 4 is some, 5 is a bunch. I don't know. But to Justin's point, yeah, this is a -20. Like I'm sorry, but this is the wackiest week of lines that I think I've ever seen in the NFL. Because there's a bunch of double-digit games. I think even the Chiefs are plus 10.5 because they're starting Carson Wentz. So, which that doesn't give Carson Wentz.
Denver, you mean Denver? Denver's 10.5.
Well, Kansas City is 10.5 point underdog.
Yeah.
So Denver's minus 10.5. But it's interesting. And Justin's right. The Bengals do need a lot of help here, but in order for them to have any semblance of a shot, they got to win that game. Obviously, that's a big one. So I think I said this to you guys in the chat. I believe in my heart that Joe Burrow is going to throw the ball 58 times in this game because there are contract incentives for like T. Higgins and those guys, but also the best chance the Bengals have to win this game is by airing the ball out. Like I want them to bring back, the Hal Mum air raid style offense that we saw in the 90s college football, where Burrow was 715 yards in the game. Because I don't know what Chase Brown's status is. I don't know if there was an injury update on him. But if they don't have a solid running back, just throw the ball. Throw the damn ball every play. Run shotgun every play. Let Burrow air it out every play. Because that's how you win if you're Cincinnati, is you challenge this Pittsburgh secondary, who's not playing for much. Like, yes, they're playing to hold on to the 5 seed, I suppose. But again, what does that really even mean? The Chargers probably aren't playing a lot of their guys, like you were saying, Jerry, because they're already locked into a wild card. They're not. They may move up to a 5 seed, but again, what that gets you a date with the Texans. Great. But then if you beat the Texans, and all, so you're going to Kansas City for the next round. So,
Yeah.
I think Saturday's interesting slate. And again, like, if you think about it, the Baltimore winning that, if that's the first game, but Baltimore Cleveland's the first game. They're not at the same time, right?
First game. The 4:30 start for Ravens Browns, 8:00 start for Bengals Steelers.
So Baltimore winning that game could make Pittsburgh not even want to do anything, because Pittsburgh wouldn't be playing for anything. They're already locked into a playoff spot.
Yeah.
The only thing they'd be playing for is to avoid possibly going to Baltimore for the wild card round, which fine, but again, there's motivation there. You can punch them in the mouth.
And you've beaten them this season. So
exactly. So there's not really motivation that's there. So I just think if Bailey Zappi leads Cleveland to an upset victory over the Ravens, it's gonna be the greatest thing ever. And I think that's worth buying a jersey of Bailey Zappi's. And Cleveland was there for one game. It's like he's there for one night and he wins the game and then he leaves town after that, because God forgive him.
If Bailey Zappi costs me my fantasy championship, I will buy a Bailey Zappi Browns jersey.
Ooh, okay.
I will buy it, to say the least. Look, I already have one useless NFL jersey I'm barely going to wear. I might as well add a second one to the mix.
I mean, come on, man. Like it's you know what you signed up for with the Tannehill jersey. So
that's true. That thing is just laying on my couch, by the way.
Yeah. As it should be. Where else do you think it should be? Hung up in a closet? Come on now.
No. Anyway, we'll help with the clarity. Yeah, honestly, you guys kind of answered my next question, because I was going to ask you guys, do you think the Steelers are going to sit guys? Like, I think competitively, I still could see the Steelers at least putting their guys out there for the first half. If the Bengals start to pull away, which is a possibility in theory, if the Bengals start to pull away, I could see a situation where, like, the Steelers do start to rest players and the Bengals just pour it on. Well,
here's what's interesting to me about this game too for Pittsburgh. You could also see this technically for them as an audition game for Justin Fields. Because the odds are that he might not stick around there after the season, and he might be one of the more interesting quarterback commodities in the free agent class this year.
Well, the only thing is, I mean, you're not wrong, but I think that this is still an important game for the Steelers to win. One, because if the Ravens do somehow lose, they do have a shot at winning the division.
Well, yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then also they would like to win here so that they're not jumped by the Chargers.
Right.
If they lose and the Chargers win, now all of a sudden they're, instead of playing Houston, they're playing Baltimore.
Right. A team they've beaten before, though, this season. So, I mean.
Yeah, but I'm not sitting here saying that I'd rather play Baltimore in January than when I did
Texans.
in December.
Agree.
So I think it's a very important game for them to make sure that they stay where they are at the very least.
Yeah.
You need to win this game.
It could very much be the case where if the Bengals just come out too fiery, like hypothetically, if the Bengals pull out like a 21-3 lead, I could kind of see the Steelers start to 6 guys.
It depends. If it's 21-3 in the first quarter and they're getting the ball in the second quarter and they get the ball in the second half, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that's
Well,
true.
also you have to believe if it's 21-3, it probably means Russell Wilson threw like 3 interceptions and is self-destructing at the seams. So
I mean,
depends on the situation.
You're just speaking your vitriol, and again, it makes sense. But
aren't you a Russ fan this week, Joe?
I'd say he's a Russ fan this week.
maybe
not by his own choice, but he had
maybe
to
I am. Maybe I'm not. I'm just saying.
He had to play the hand that he was dealt.
Daily Zappy.
Maybe somebody here made a devil's deal to help themselves out. I'm just
saying.
Snoop
Huntley's available probably in your league, so you can take him.
Oh, he definitely is. I'm not picking him up though.
That's fine. If you don't want to pick him, that's fine. I suppose.
I picked up Cortland Sutton because he's taking. If Cortland Sutton doesn't put up 2 touchdowns against the bums of the Chiefs defense backups, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be seething.
There you go.
If Cortland Sutton cost me my fantasy championship, I actually kind of like Cortland Sutton though, so I can't even say getting a shirt of him would be an insult. I actually like.
So I think that leads to an interesting discussion then. If we're moving on, if Cincinnati wins, let's say, do we think that Denver's really got a shot against Kansas City's backups?
Or would you say, do the Chiefs' backups have a shot against Denver?
Well, so that's the thing. Like if you're Denver, you're in the playoffs, and that's all well and good if you lose and everybody else loses. But that's relying on the Steelers, who already clinched the spot, beating the Bengals, who are gunning for everything. And it's also relying on Aaron Rodgers in what's probably going to be his last ever game in the NFL, thank God, against the Dolphins, who somehow, some way still have a chance, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Did you forget the script, Rick? Sam Darnold leaves the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers signs with the Vikings. That's how it works.
No. See, you're thinking about the wrong USC quarterback. Mark Sanchez is going to be the offensive coordinator next year. That's what's going to happen.
Wait, for the Jets?
Yes, the wrong USC quarterback you're thinking of.
Yeah.
That's all.
There's that.
Yeah, I think there's intrigue with the Miami game too. Again, I know we talked about this too. I really do believe that Tua being doubtful here opens up an interesting little conspiracy theory door, where if the Dolphins get in, this will be the 3rd year in a row that they get into the playoffs with a 3rd different starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Skylar Thompson in our first year doing the podcast, Tua last year, and if somehow it falls that Snoop Huntley leads them in the playoffs.
Pro Bowler, Snoop Huntley.
Nope, he's not. He's a default Pro Bowler. He's a Pro Bowler in the same way that Count Chocula's generic store brand compatriot is Count Chocula. Like it doesn't work like that, man. I don't even know what they call that guy anymore, but it would just be really because that's the thing for Miami. You signed Tua to this long-term deal, and he didn't even win the last 2 games to get you to the playoffs. So what does that tell you? I don't know. To me, it's interesting. So I think that's very curious to see on Sunday. If Cincinnati doesn't win, that opens the door for Miami. I think even if they do win, right, does Miami still have the tiebreaker over them, over Cincy?
Yes. So here's what I was going to ask. So I will restate the conditions one last time, and then all 3 of us are just going to make a quick pick here.
Yeah.
So the Broncos the Broncos can tie, and I think they'll be fine because 9-7-1 for win percentage is above 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Broncos at least tie, they get into the postseason. So win or tie, fine. Or if they lose, they need the other 2 to lose as well.
Right.
For the Dolphins to get in, they need the Broncos to lose, and they need to win. Simple as that. The Bengals result would not matter as long as the Dolphins win. The Bengals need the Broncos and the Dolphins to both lose. Or if the Dolphins tie and the Bengals win, it's fine. Ultimately, the Bengals need the two teams. Though the simplest way is this: the Broncos can win, and it's over.
Yep.
The Dolphins can win, and they need one result to swing their way. The Bengals win, they need two results to go their way.
Got it.
So, real quick from each of us, whoever wants to go first can. Gut feeling right now, who do you predict is going to be the 7th seed in the AFC to take on the Buffalo Bills? Because no matter what, whoever gets that seed is going to Buffalo to face the Bills.
My gut says Cincinnati.
Wait, so I'm sorry. You're asking me who I want to win or who I think is going to win?
Who do you think will be the 7th seed in the AFC after this weekend?
Denver.
Okay.
I think that they've taken a much bigger step forward this year, and they are not going to blow a game against some backups with their playoff hopes on the line.
Yeah.
They've done it the last 2 weeks in a row.
See, week 18 throws some really weird curveballs at you. That's the funny thing. I do agree with Justin's point that Denver's come too far to blow this, but I don't know, man. Carson Wentz could pull some magic here, and Cincy being as prominent as they are, I don't know. I think like I said, my gut says Cincinnati, but I would not be shocked if it's Miami.
I will say also, if Denver does lose its 3rd game in a row and Miami blows a lead to the Jets.
You want to talk about a gift to Zach Taylor?
I do not want to be the team that has to go up against Cincinnati in the playoffs.
Oh, and that's the thing. We deserve the Bengals to somehow make it because Joe Burrow.
The Bengals don't really deserve it.
They don't.
No. I'm saying we, as in the fans, a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen matchup once again, because that is step one for this year, and the agenda of Josh Allen is going to overcome his demons in the postseason. Because that is man he has lost to in the postseason.
Except that also opens the door for, we really want to see a Joe Burrow Pat Mahomes matchup in the next round. Yeah, so that opens the door for some white and black shirts to become a little tinted orange, if you know what I mean. So,
dude, it gets fun. That's why I had to ask the question: who do we think will actually make it? Because I want the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't have an NFL team, but if I had to choose, the Bengals would probably be the closest, just because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're my vibe, man. I love those two. That being said, I don't think it'll be the case, unfortunately. I think Cortland Sutton is going to go off for like 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. No bias whatsoever.
He's willing this to happen.
The Chiefs. Look, I need something in my life, man. I'm gonna lose one championship. I should try to win the other. I'm gonna win the other. But I think the Broncos are legitimately they're gonna handle the business they need to against the backup defense. And Pat Surtain, Pro Bowler, is probably gonna pick off Wentz at least once. And the Broncos are going to win, and we'll have all those conversations be done. Because I need to confirm this. Let me look at the schedule real quick. I want to say the Broncos and Dolphins games are happening simultaneously. They are 4:25 p.m. They are both in that 4:25 slate. So it'll be from the Bengals result. We'll wait another 16 hours, something like that.
Less. Yeah, no, more than that.
Like 19.
Closer like 20.
Yeah. We should really stop trying to do math on this podcast. 10x plus 1 and all that. We know it upsets Justin.
The math isn't math.
But within a day of the Bengals result tomorrow night, we will see who the 7th seed in the AFC is in that junction, to say the very least. And we've said our piece about the Texans and the Chargers for the most part. I think that kind of wraps up the AFC side of things. Let's go to the NFC, lads. Let's go from the bottom up first. Sort of. Oh, yeah, actually. Commanders, Packers, real quick. 6th and 7th seed. It's kind of interchangeable. It could be very interesting depending on the matchups that go above them. My first instinct is, me and Justin were kind of talking about this. I think it's going to depend on what the course of the game is. I don't see those teams starting to bench guys until they're up by like 3-4 scores. Like, they're going to want to build up leads in both their games. That could just be me, but I don't see too much else happening there. Any other thoughts before we move on to the more important matchups?
Who's Green Bay is the 6th right now, right?
No,
Based
Green
on
Bay's the
tiebreaker?
7. Green Bay's the 7, and the Commanders are the 6. So Green Bay, the Packers need the Commanders to lose, and they would have to win or tie to go above them.
All I'm going to say is Green Bay as the 7 seed sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound familiar? So
And ironically, they're facing an NFC East team.
I'd be careful if I was Philadelphia. If Green Bay is the 7th seed, I think Philadelphia's praying that Dallas beats Washington so that Green Bay can move up to the 6, so they don't have to face them. Because if there's one team that's dangerous as the 7th seed, it's the Packers, based on history.
And they've shown it literally last year, knocking out the NFC East division winner there. So we'll see what happens there. NFC South, let's talk about it. Tampa Bay, like I said, is taking on the Saints. Those Saints are going to be marching in. They may not do that much. And the Atlanta Falcons are taking on the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to ask a similar question here because I think all of us picked Atlanta in the preseason to win the division.
Yeah.
And while for our own prediction record's sake, we would love for the Falcons to take this out, I would be shocked if any of us think Tampa is losing hold of the division here.
I mean, not to tip my hat, but I do have the Saints in this game. My picks. So I'm trying to will it to happen, but let's call it what it is here. This Tampa team, this is going to be the Baker show against the Saints.
It's a 2-touchdown favored. You have them covering 2 touchdowns.
It wasn't 2 touchdowns. Well, Justin, you know how I do my picks.
I know, but at some point you have to say it. That was 6 months ago, and
absolutely not. I go down with the ship no matter how fiery and wooden it is. I will falter.
You have to respect it, Justin. The man he's a man of principle.
I will falter on this pick.
I am all for preseason picks. I think it's fun. I think it's fantastic to do. But if you're sticking to your preseason picks in week 18, that's just madness, dude.
Well, the other reason why I'm sticking to it as well is because, again, in our pick challenge we do straight up, but in the other challenges that I'm in, I do based upon spreads. So by keeping the Saints with a big enough spread, yeah, of course, there's a chance that the Bucs will cover that, but there's also a good possibility that the Saints can keep it close.
It makes more sense, but I mean,
I'm already in third place. What do you want from me?
It makes more sense now, but it doesn't make. I don't, because I want you to be competitive. That's why.
Hey, I've got 98 points. It's the best third place showing ever in the podcast history. It's fine.
How many did I have last year?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have more than you had last year, so it doesn't really matter at this point. But I'm saying going into week 18.
I guess because you're robbing the people of a one-on-one matchup between myself and Justin.
That's no. That's not true. That's not true. It is one-on-one between you and one-on-one between me and the Gopher.
Sure.
Gopher's at 91. I'm at 98. So third place ain't sewn up yet. So,
anyways, Justin's just like, yeah, I'll take this championship however way. I don't care.
I want to win, man.
What happened?
I just want to win.
So the Buccaneers, the NFC South, we agree, is in their hands. And like I mentioned before, if the Bucs win and the Rams lose, I believe that does catapult the Bucs up into third place in the conference because they would have the same record as the Rams. If, again, the Bucs win and the Rams lose, they'll both be 10-7. That'll give them the same division record, but the Bucs will have 2 more conference wins if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, going from a logical perspective, and strength of schedule also favors the Buccaneers right now, from what I'm seeing in the standings. So, yeah, the Bucs do have something to play for in terms of the 6th seed, and them against the Commanders or them against the Packers would be a very interesting matchup to say the very least. So, there's that. The Rams. Kind of if you touch upon them, like with the third seed is kind of on the line. I imagine they're probably gonna kind of what we said for so many of these games, kind of like a take it by what the situation is type deal, right? Like if it's a close game, they'll keep their guys in. If they start to lose, like I could see them start to say discretion is the better part of valor, and they just rest their guys. And the Rams could try to play because you want to talk about not wanting to see a team. This Rams team, if they do fall to the 4th seed, let's say, is going to face the loser of the Vikings-Lions matchup. That's pretty intriguing. That's kind of a tough first round matchup for one of those 2 teams to face, to say the least. So,
but also Gino could play ultimate spoiler. I know you talked about him, but
yeah,
can you imagine the Seahawks beat the Rams, a 10-win team that doesn't make the postseason because of how damn good the NFC North has been this year? but also costing the Rams the 3 seed if Tampa wins, and then making the Rams have to host a 14-win Minnesota or Detroit in the first round. What a wild NFC year this has been, man.
It really has. It really, really has, to say the least. Second seed, the Eagles. It's wrapped up with them. What do we make, boys? Because we have to talk about it because obligatory NFL podcast talk. It's required contractually, actually. We can only run the show next week if we do bring up the topic here. Saquon being basically all but confirmed. I think it's actually kind of confirmed that he's going to be sitting out against the Giants, and he will not be going for the rushing yards record.
I mean, he didn't really get it anyways. There's an extra game there.
Justin, come on. We cannot be. We need to be a progressive podcast. We cannot be these old heads that say.
No matter what, I mean, unless someone really breaks it in 16 games, it's a record that's never going to be broken.
What is really break it? There's 17 games. That's how it works.
So you're right. There's 17 games. Even though he broke it in 16 games, there's 17 games. That makes a difference. And this is
Eric Dickerson had 2 more games over O.J. Simpson. What are we talking about?
To be fair, too, there was a point where it was a 14-game season. So I mean,
absolutely, but it's been a 16-game season for how many years now?
Yeah, yep, considerable amount of years. I agree with you.
It's a long, long time.
Yep.
And it was a more modern game when Dickerson did it than when O.J. did it. And I'm not sitting here trying to take away from O.J. O.J. was nasty. He was a nasty football player, and realistically, if OJ had a 16-game season, maybe it's a different thing. Maybe OJ breaks that record. But that's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about adding, and now realistically, we're talking about adding probably another game at some point. Like, we have to call it what it is. I mean, it is extra games.
Yeah, it's greed for the owners. That's not the player's fault.
So let's not sit here and say that the record that Dickerson set so long ago in a way more offense favorable NFL with an extra game has still stood standing, and this is by far the closest we've ever seen anyone get to it, and they're still 100 yards away. So
I also hold on, you're forgetting Adrian Peterson. I don't know about by far closest. Adrian Peterson was like 9 yards short.
Well, but then Mike Zimmer or Brad Childress or whoever was the head coach decided to take a nod.
It was Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, exactly. Who hates fun.
Well, the thing is, they went for the game-winning field goal at the end rather than just giving it to Peterson and hoping to get the ball in OT.
Again, he hates fun. So I think Dickerson's record is also impressive considering he played in the AstroTurf era of the NFL. Which that's rough on the knees and on the legs here. So here's what I think too. This didn't occur to me until just now, and I think it's a prudent decision by Nick Sirianni and the Eagles to not have Barkley in this game for one reason. Games at MetLife.
Yeah.
What is MetLife known for more than anything else?
Tearing up the knees and lower body.
But not just that. Whose knees? Saquon's.
Specifically Saquon's.
So honestly, it's like for the betterment of you, don't even show up to the game or sit in the box. If you go on the field, we're bubble wrapping the hell out of you.
I was going to say, as a whole.
Yeah. Should Saquon even travel for this game? Like, should they just leave him in Philly?
No, I mean it's a homecoming game, so he can obviously be there for it. But like, don't even let him get on the field, or if he's on the field, let him just stand in regular street clothes.
Here's the question that I'm more concerned about: how many Saquon Barkley jerseys are in the stands?
Oh my God, at least 10,000.
I'm not talking about just Eagles fans.
Yeah, at least 10,000. There's going to be about.
Okay, but to be fair, there's been a couple games now to where everyone knows he's not playing. Basically,
there's going to be about 7,500 Eagles jerseys with Barkley on them. There's going to be about 2,450 Giants jerseys with Barkley on them, and then a random 50 Penn State ones because no one knows what the heck is going on anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Saquon should also put up a billboard thanking the Giants for refusing.
I would,
because he would never have had this season.
Thank you HBO, thank you the Giants, thank you the Maras.
Yeah, thank you for declaring that I am not a $12 million running
Thank you, Stephen A. Smith, for some reason.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for thinking that no one else in free agency would sign me.
Exactly.
Spoiler, you were wrong. A lot of people were wrong about the running backs this year.
This has been the year of revenge for running backs.
And I'm freaking happy about it.
Even Tony Pollard. I mean, I know we don't talk about the Titans that much because
he had a good year.
He's had a very good year for the Titans. then again,
Even though they only have 3 wins.
yeah, he's still got incentives, which we could talk about a little bit, but he's got incentives as well for if he finishes like with 2 more touchdowns, I think it's like $600K bonus or whatever it is. It's impressive. He had a great year.
Hope he gets it indeed. Yeah, he is 83 yards away from passing 1,100 on the season.
He's got over 1,200 all-purpose and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, literally the only negative for him is just the low touchdown count, and that's because the Titans suck. It's not because of him.
I was going to say the
negative red zone carries he's had.
There's 3 negatives. 1, low touchdown count. 2, he's on the Titans, and 3, he's overshadowed by Will Levis being an idiot every week.
Yeah. It would be. I mean, it could be worse. Ryan Tannehill could be his quarterback. Anyways, look, we got to understand. My number 1 hate for the Titans was because of Tannehill. I actually can tolerate that team because he's no longer there.
I can't wait for Black Monday if Trent Baalke gets fired because you're going to be the happiest little guy.
Just you wait.
Might be coming.
It might be.
All right. We'll get to that in a second here. All right. Lions, Vikings, 14-2 teams. No joke here. The Titans of the NFC this year, them and the Eagles, like these 3 teams stepped up when the San Francisco 49ers just fell and broke every single bone in all the players' bodies down the stairs of the 2024 season. Look, the Lions, we expected this from them. The Vikings, we did not expect this from them. Safe to say Sam Darnold's going to be a very healthy. Well, yes, healthy. He'll be a very wealthy man after this season.
Believe me.
Someone's going to someone's going to pay Sam Darnold after this season.
I said the Packers last year. I told you guys.
And so Justin's the NFC North prognosticator on the show.
Yeah.
So whenever Justin decides it's the Bears' time, then it'll be the Bears' time. Until then, they suck.
From what I've seen, they have a long time.
All right,
2032.
So much worse than I thought. They look awful. Every time I'm like, God, they cannot look worse than this.
They have lost
worse than that.
They can.
They have lost every single game ever since the Hail Mary against the Commanders.
There were just those franchises that you think to yourself, like, oh, they can't be worse. And then they're like, oh, yeah, watch this.
They've hit rock bottom.
Honestly, I said the worst football play I've ever seen was on Thanksgiving. And then they were somehow worse in that Seattle game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb Williams just does not look like he knows what he's doing back there. He
mean,
gets the ball, and he
look at the coaching he's had.
He also got a great education in college.
He has had 3 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches in less than a full season.
Yeah, that's stability right there.
Yeah,
that's David Tepper light right there.
And by the way, there's going to be a new general manager there because I'd be shocked if Ryan Poles makes it past fucking Monday.
But it's ownership, man. This is the 4th quarterback in a row that they've drafted with a top 5 pick that they fired the head coach the same season.
Yeah,
they've been doing this for over a decade.
Wait, Williams, Fields, Trubisky. Who's the other one? You said 4th. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm asking for.
It is. Memory. It's who was the quarterback that drafted before Trubisky?
Grossman?
No. It wasn't Grossman.
I mean, Jay Cutler was there before.
But he wasn't
drafted. No, he was
top 5.
He was a trade.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I was just asking, like, literally for trivia purposes. Like, I genuinely could not tell you who the 4th guy is.
I saw this stat the other day.
Yeah. Too. In any event, though, while we're looking that up,
well, I'll give it to let Justin search it up. Rick, I'll throw the question to you first. Who is winning the NFC North? Who is getting the top seed in the conference? Lions or Vikings?
Where's the game?
Detroit.
I'll be honest with you, though. I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a team of destiny this year, and they're a team that's just, really surprising.
It was Grossman, by the way.
It was Grossman. It was.
Yeah, they fired Dick Jaron, and in 2020 and 2004, his second year, Lovie Smith was hired.
Good Lord. That was a head coach.
Yeah, I was right.
It
was right about Grossman.
You're right. Yeah.
20 years they've been doing this.
It's crazy.
2003 to 2004.
It's crazy.
2025 now.
But yeah, look, the Lions are a very, very good team. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like the Vikings are just on this ungodlike run that it's surprised so many people, and it's really thrown things into a loop. Like nobody, like Justin, I know that you had the Vikings rated higher than we did, but I don't think you could even have picked a 14-2 season for them going into the final week of the year.
No,
Like that's
of course not.
it's one of those things. Like even if it wasn't Sam Darnold, if it was JJ McCarthy at quarterback, they wouldn't be this good. But for whatever reason, it just clicked. Like I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's just because Darnold's understanding the O'Connell offense a lot better, and that like the players are actually can really good chemistry. But here's the thing: just because I think that the Vikings are going to win this game, be the number one seed, doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're going to be the team that gets out of the NFC and goes to the Super Bowl. Like I think whichever team wins this game, even though they're the one seed, they've got a long way to go still to prove themselves, because the odds are that this is going to be a divisional round matchup again between these two teams. Because, unless the Packers or the Commanders pull off another upset in that first round,
let's be real, they could.
They could conceivably, but I don't necessarily know if I foresee that happening. I mean, depending on who the 3 seed is. If it's the Rams, I give the Rams a good shot against the Commanders. If it's the Bucks, then I give them lesser of a shot, to be honest with you. But who's to say that you won't see this matchup 2 times in 3 weeks again?
Yeah, we do have a couple of situations here. We could see some matchups for a third time in the season.
Yeah.
We could see Steelers Ravens for a third time here, and we could very much see Lions Vikings, or either of these teams against the Packers.
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about? Because I didn't know I'd said Vikings. Justin, what do you think? Lions?
I think healthy. I think it would be an easy choice with the Lions.
Yeah,
but I got news for you. They're not healthy, and it's worrisome for a team like the Lions to have to play a team like the Vikings now, who can light you up. Like, look, I think that the surprising point to me is not the offense. Although, if you would have told me that Sam Darnold was going to have 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions going into week 18, I probably would have said that's optimistic. But the surprise here was the defense.
Yeah.
This is not what we thought this defense was going to be. For years now, this defense was a disappointment. They had decent guys that were a little past their prime and couldn't perform. They had Daniil Alexander that just, couldn't, he's great at sacking the quarterback, but he couldn't make this defense better. And then you bring in a defensive coordinator like Flores, who gets his guys to rally. You sign some good veterans, but you get a lot younger. The Vikings are now, 4th in the league in sacks? They're tied for 3rd in the league with 47 sacks. They get after the quarterback. They turn the ball over. And they've played really, really, really good defense and kept their team in games when they've needed to. And that's the difference between the Vikings last year and the year before and the Vikings this year. Last year, I know there was a revolving door of quarterbacks, but we knew what this offense was coaching-wise and system-wise. This is a system that the coach can come in and he could make anyone better, and he can make anyone live up to their expectations. Do we really think that Josh Dobbs was as good as we were? That Pasternak, streak was akin to Linsanity in New York back in the 2000s. We knew what Jeremy Lin was.
Yep.
It was exciting. It was fun. It was fun to believe. Come on.
Then he left.
Come on.
Then he got exposed by Miami. Oh,
this is not. I mean, this is exactly what we thought Sam Darnold could be in this league. And now we're seeing him coached properly in a proper system with top weapons.
Yep.
And he is a really good quarterback.
He is.
Also, before
he had that potential.
And also before him coming to Minnesota with O'Connell, I really got to believe, I got to give a little bit of credit, not full credit, but I got to give a little bit of credit. So I'm sure being in the same room for a year with Kyle Shanahan probably really helps a guy. Like,
you remember what I said when he signed there? So that was the best move he's ever made in his entire career.
There you go.
because even sitting back there and learning from a guy like that makes you better. And I honestly, I don't know. I'm not in these rooms, but to me, McConnell has that. You know what I mean? So it's just as good a move for him to have gone to Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying it's
the
back to
weapons are
it's
important.
back-to-back years, Justin. It's back-to-back years of Kyle Shanahan and then Kevin O'Connell, two of the top 3, 4 offensive minds in the game today.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say it's the two of them. What's his name in Carolina, who is starting to get some real action out of Bryce Young because he made what he was today at this point, and probably McVay.
Yeah,
are probably my top 4 offensive minds. Andy Reid also.
If Shane Steichen had a better quarterback, I think he would be up there in that combo.
Let me also say this too. I just thought of this as well going into this Week 18 matchup with the Lions and the Vikings.
On the other side,
the pressure on both of these teams is also enormous. Not just for the winning, the losing team, because you got to turn right back around. Because if you're going to say that your first 2-game losing streak of the season is going to knock you out of the playoffs, that's brutal. And it's two interesting stories, because if it's the Lions, it's the shortcomings of the fact that, we got to the NFC title game last year. We were so close then, and we couldn't get back there this time around. But for Minnesota, it's going to lead to some unfair questions of O'Connell, because that's going to mean 2 straight wild card round exits for them.
Well, 2 straight with a playoff miss sandwiched in between those two.
Exactly. So the questions are going to be unfair, because O'Connell
he's done enough. He's done enough to secure his job.
Right. But again, the funny thing that I mentioned to you guys in text too is that these are 2 franchises that have not won a Super Bowl ever. One team hasn't even gotten there. Yeah. And to have arguably one of your best seasons of recent memory, the Vikings, I know, had a 15-1 season years ago, but that one even ended in misery.
Yeah.
One of your best seasons in memory end because you lose 2 straight games and you're knocked out of the 1 seed by, let's be honest here, a bitter divisional rival, and then a team that they probably should not lose to, whichever team is the 4 seed. That's going to lead some questions in Minnesota for O'Connell. Unfairly, I agree. But
this is a sport. We've said this on the podcast. This could be like the 5th shirt in podcast history, along with salary cap as a social construct, and take the points. But the football is a game of attrition first and foremost. This football is a game. It is a war of attrition. The NFL season is a war of attrition, and whoever is healthiest at the end gives themselves the best shot.
Yeah.
That being said, I will very narrowly pick the Lions here. I think that now more than ever, the mentality that Dan Campbell has coached this team for the last few years and the culture that has been established by Campbell, this is the kind of game that they need to pull down every single thing they have from within their souls. Like it says under Justin, in his souls, in their souls, and get this one out. I'm not saying it's going to be, this is no way ever going to be a blowout. This is going to be a close tooth and nail. Whoever has the ball last on offense is probably winning this game. And I think it could be Detroit, because your guy, Jared Goff, Rick, I think he's got a 4th quarter drive in him in this game. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm very much going to narrowly give the Lions a win here. So that's where I'm leaning. And one last thing before we move on, because we talked about Sam Darnold here. Guys, this is very much looking ahead. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to pay a quarterback. I don't think it's going to be Brock Purdy. Let's not rule out a reunion.
If they wanted to keep Sam Darnold there, they would have done it already. I think that.
No, but hold on. You can't take Brock Purdy off the team after making it to a Super Bowl as the starter.
Sure you could.
But now that they had this bad season and the roster's changing, and now there's definitely hesitation about signing him to a long-term deal, they could very much welcome him back. I'm sure Sam Darnold has zero ill will and understands why the Niners made their choice.
But I don't even know how much can they pay him.
Justin, what did I just say? The salary cap is a social construct.
But it's not though. But like you know how much restructuring you would have to do to bring in a guy,
and they'll do it. What are we talking about?
Not so easy. You got to get people to agree.
Yeah, they'll probably do. if there is one thing we could see in this league, we see contracts get signed, we have no idea. We just don't understand.
And
Also, like I think every
restructuring-
other sport, you can in the offseason, you can be over the salary cap by a certain amount. You just need to get under it by the start, by like whatever internal deadline the league has.
And also, if you're restructuring, you need to have an owner willing to pay out that money to which they might. I don't know the name of the owner of the San Francisco 49ers, but
I think it's Jed York.
Yeah, Jed York.
And that family, like, they got a new arena. Like, this is their new stadium. Like, this team is wine and gold wants to hold.
But that's a team that we'll have to discuss in a couple weeks in the offseason.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot to discuss about the 49ers.
But I'm just saying, there could be a new quarterback getting paid in San Fran, but it ain't the guy that's on the roster right now, to say the very least. All right, let's move on. Fantastic job for Week 18, boys. Rick, you could take over from here for this next section.
What I do?
Neat facts going to Week 18.
Oh, is this the incentive talk that we're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I also thought you were going to bring up the 1,000-yard post as well. So that's why I called it Neat Facts.
Well, dude, I mean, I've also had, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So let's go into this. I think when you talk about wide receivers, you talk about guys that have had, close to 1,000 yards in a season that, you say, oh, well, that's not a surprise. These are guys that we expect to have 1,000 yards in a year. But there are some names on a list that I have that, like, the top 12 guys who are close, going into Week 18, who need a certain amount of yards to get over the 1,000-yard plateau. So let me go through this list from the guys who need the least amount of yards to the most amount of yards in the 12. I don't know. I don't know if Nico Collins is back fully playing, but if he is, he's got 30. He needs 32 yards. He's at 968. Jamison Williams is at 967, so he's closing in on it too. Then you have Calvin Ridley at 941. DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill both at 939 and 61 yards. Here's the first interesting name, which just shows you how he has performed so well in the face of total adversity. Jawan Jennings, 77 yards he needs to cross the 1,000-yard plateau. For the Niners in a lost season, because let's be honest here, it's a lost season for them. To have Jawan Jennings be that close just kind of shows his worth. And he had a breakout game in the Super Bowl last year, and he's backed it up. Unlike a certain somebody else who had a breakout game a while ago for the Bills and then tried to parlay that into a big contract with the Jaguars, and it didn't quite work. Gabe Davis, anybody? Yeah. Again, Mike Evans is 85 yards away. If he doesn't get over 1,000 yards for the 12th straight season in a row, fire Todd Bowles directly into the sun. I'm sorry. Just do it at this point, too. Of these other names here, so the last one who's under 100 yards needed to get over 1,000 is Jacoby Myers of the Raiders, which is really interesting when you think about who in God's name has been his quarterback this season. Minshew, O'Connell, Ritter. I think a Vegas showgirl threw him a pass one time or another. I don't know. Maybe the guy who owns the Wynn Casino threw him a pass once. I'm not sure. But like Jacoby Myers being that close, that's a pretty damn good year for him. George Pickens, that head case has 100 yards to go before getting 1,000. And then DJ Moore, Jordan Addison, and T. Higgins, they all need relatively bigger games, 120 to 140 yards. But let's be honest here, they can get them, especially T. Higgins. I mean, I know Jerk doesn't want to mention it, but let's call it what it is here. That last T. Higgins game that he had that really hurt him in fantasy, that was a damn good game by T. Higgins and showed why he deserves all the money that he needs.
Look, it was fantastic. I'm just saying, one of those touchdowns could have gone to Jamar Chase too.
I mean, one of them could, but it didn't, did it?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
No. And then so along with that, here are some other player incentives for contracts that I think are really interesting. And there's a bunch that we could talk about, but I think these ones that I sent you guys are pretty interesting too. J.K. Dobbins in what could be his comeback player of the year season, although I think I've heard people say Sam Darnold should be comeback player of the year, which fine, whatever. 58 plus rushing yards for Dobbins against 150K. So that would be nice for me to have that. That'd be great. Thank you. Just forward that over to me. That'd be nice. Here's another name that a guy who was quietly overachieved this year. Marcus Valdez-Scantling in New Orleans. If he just gets one touchdown this week, he earns himself a $250,000 bonus. And again, that's an offense that was so hurt with injuries. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, but MVS has been a real standout for that Saints team. And again, who is their quarterback? Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler? I mean, trot out the ghost of Drew Brees. I know he's not dead, but trot out his ghost. Why not? What the hell? Joe Mixon needs 107 yards rushing for the Texans to get $250,000, as Tony Pollard needs 83 rushing yards for $250,000. Jerg's boy Courtland Sutton needs 82 plus receiving yards for $500,000.
Easy money.
But here's probably the easiest payday of them all. Derrick Henry needs 1 touchdown for $500,000.
God dang it!
Like, come on, just Lamar, get the ball to the 1 yard line, just down it, and then give it to Derrick Henry. Let him run in for a yard.
I face him in fantasy. It's not going to be fun.
Make it the easiest touchdown he's ever earned, right? Kyler Murray needs a rushing touchdown and 50 rushing yards for $750,000 this year. I'm going to skip DeAndre Hopkins because his is really interesting. It's a 3-tiered one. But Geno, Ring of Honor, Geno needs 185 plus passing yards for a $2 million contract bonus. And then Mike Evans needs 5 catches and 85 receiving yards for a $3 million bonus, along with 1,000 yards. And again, Justin, I know you missed this show. This was one of, when I took over for you asking the trivia at home questions. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving receptions in a year record is held by Keyshawn Johnson because Mike Evans has never crossed the 100 catch plateau in his career. His highest was 96. So he's not getting 100 catches this year. But yet somehow, some way, he still gets over 1,000 yards every single season, which is incredible.
Consistency, man.
So here's the DeAndre Hopkins one. For $750,000, he needs, from Carson Wentz, 140 receiving yards, 6+ catches, and a receiving touchdown.
Okay, he could get 2 of those 3, to be fair.
I think he's going to get a lot of targets in this game because I think Carson's going to be like, it's my one shot to do something right and try and get in the ball as much as possible and win that. So
I know he's not at the peak of his powers, but is DeAndre Hopkins the most talented wide receiver Carson Wentz is going to be on the same field with?
What? Who?
Career?
Well, I was going to say who were the receivers on the Eagles when he was doing really well and then got hurt and lost his spot to Foles?
Like Alshon Jeffrey.
well, I mean, then if we're comparing Hopkins to Jeffrey, then yes, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. But yeah. So, I mean, I think all those are incentives that these guys will hit. I think when it comes to monetary stuff like that, I feel like guys are a little more apt to be like, yeah, all right, I won't hit you that hard, or I'll let you make that catch, or whatever the case is, because I think all these guys look out for each other when it comes to the money and all of that. Yeah. Interesting though, those were all offensive. I didn't recall seeing any defensive incentives. I don't know if you guys saw that in your.
I didn't see, but I'm almost certain like a good amount of the defensive players probably do have sack incentives. I think the thing is if there's any starting defensive player on a good team who needs 2.5 sacks, he's probably going to get benched by the third quarter. What are the odds he gets it?
So here's a question that I had in my mind.
Yeah,
because it would not be unheard of for Derrick Henry to have 200 yards in a game like this where they need it and they're playing a bad team, and he's going to get the ball a lot once they have the lead.
Can you stop doing this to me in terms of me losing fantasy? Can you stop?
Forget about fantasy wise. What are the odds that Derrick Henry
overtakes Saquon?
It's got to be a possibility.
He is 200. I'm looking at it right now. He is 217.
Yeah, he's 222 from beating Saquon. Well, he's not playing this week.
I was just saying the 2,000 yard mark, but yes.
I know.
I mean, yeah, that's possible. That's very possible. Again, like you said, this is a game the Ravens need to win, so why not?
They're going to feed him for sure.
Yeah. Why not? And correct me if I'm wrong. Are the Browns not at full strength on defense, right? Or are they at full strength on defense?
I'd be shocked if they were.
Well, I was something with Myles Garrett. Was he shut down for the season or something?
Mm-hmm.
Recently,
it might be.
So that's a big name on the defense. That's not going to be there if he's not playing the game. If he's a healthy scratch, that's still a big name. That's not plugging up the line anymore. So you're right.
I'm not seeing any news about Garrett. He's tied for first. Myles Garrett is tied for first in sacks right now.
Yeah.
He still has a chance at Defensive Player of the Year, I imagine he probably is playing this game.
So I did find a couple of defensive ones. A lot of them, like you said, are about sacks or interceptions. But I also found another fun one about Geno. So Dante Fowler of the Commanders needs a half sack to make $375,000, which will max out his $1.5 million incentive for the season. Remember we talked about the reclamation projects of Dante Fowler and Cleveland Ferrell for this team, the Commanders. That's phenomenal. They're doing that. You want to hear the odd, quirky one about Geno?
Yeah,
he's got to complete the season with a 69.7% or higher completion percentage to get another $2 million. And if the Seahawks beat the Rams, he gets another $2 million. So there's potentially $6 million riding on this game for Geno.
Wait, what?
So winning this game, getting the Seahawks to 10 wins, 185 passing yards, and finishing the year with a 69.7% or higher completion percentage. If he does all of that on Sunday, he's $6 million richer and that much closer to the Ring of Honor.
He's at 70% completion percentage right now. So.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me there. Guys with interceptions. I think the funny ones are like the guys that are like, Zadarius Smith of the Lions. You want $250,000? Get 2 sacks on this Vikings offensive line.
Hey, he might. Yeah, he has the motivation. He did not like his time in Minnesota, dude. He not.
He might, absolutely. Von Miller of the Bills, 1 more sack, $1.5 million.
I'm amazed Von Miller's still standing with his lower body injuries the last few years.
I mean, so Justin, to your point about Derrick Henry, he may be closer. He may try and go for that record, but Justice Hill is 8 catches away from $250,000. So I would try and get him to pass the ball and make a couple more catches here and there.
I think the Ravens are going to do right by Justice Hill and get him playing time.
Oh yeah, and I think Kyle Van Noy has like a 1 sack, $350,000 incentive as well, like a Dante Fowler one.
By the way, Kyle Van Noy tied for 4th in the league in sacks right now with T.J. Watt, Andrew Van Ginkel of the Vikings, and Benito from the Broncos.
Nick Benito's had a great season.
Yes,
and so has Van Ginkel. I mean, that Christmas gift of the pick 6 against Rodgers in London, great season. And also Aaron Rodgers, just shut your mouth. Don't say anything.
You see his new thing now?
No, I don't follow the weirdos.
Let's thank the Jets because it's the best 2 years of his life.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Do you take any solace in that as Jets fans that he complimented the franchise?
Yeah, I'm not a Jets fan anymore. After Sunday, I'm out. I'm out after Sunday.
So you technically still are one at the moment.
Well, I'm on my way. I'm 1 foot out the door.
All right, let's continue. Rick, are we wrapped up with the incentives?
Yeah, we're done. We're done with those.
All right, very, very quickly. Work. This is annoying me.
Huh.
Hold on. I'm trying to get the ticker to work, but the ticker ain't going. There it is. The ticker's finally going. Jesus. All right, NFL Black Monday. Tis the tradition of the football season, unfortunate as is, that people get fired after the last set of games on Sunday, referred to as Black Monday. Now, I'm not going to ask like anyone specific. Like right now, you guys quick look at the standings. Who could you see being fired right now, gut feelings, when you look up and down at the NFL landscape?
I think Doug Peterson's a goner. I think he's a goner for the Jaguars, honestly. I think we knew this was coming. So I think he's a goner. I hate to say it, but I think Antonio Pierce is going to be on the chopping block too.
It does not look good there.
No, it doesn't. And it's a shame because it started off so well when he took over as the interim and they played so well for him. But it hasn't looked good.
If they go 0-6 in the division. Yeah.
Which is a real possibility, unfortunately. I'm trying to think because like all the other guys that I think about, I mean, again, I think Brian Daboll's job might be saved because the Eagles aren't playing Saquon. But again, like the Giants need to hit the reset button hard.
Oh, to be fair to Brian Daboll, that's not his fault that the GM decided to let Saquon go like Saquon having this season.
It's not, but still, like even if you do let him go, you also became the play caller. You took that responsibility away from Mike Kafka. And what has his offense done? You got rid of Daniel Jones, and Tommy DeVito didn't work. And you won last week, a game which, you could argue they shouldn't have won, but, I think Giants fans are kind of happy because you see Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders what they did in their bowl games, and it's like, all right, let's wait until Arch Manning comes out instead. I don't know. I mean, I think other guys are safe based upon the fact that they're first-year guys, but like Brian Callahan is going to go into next year on a lot of hot water, I think. I hate to say that I was right about a guy being hired incorrectly, but he was hired incorrectly as the head coach.
He was because again, this is the Titans GM who oversaw like a transition from the old regime. Like he fired Vrabel, and this was his first guy. Like GMs tend to get the silver bullet of the first head coach.
It was just such an ass backwards thing. The way
it was.
Less than 2 years, and you're likely firing the first guy you hired is it's not a great look in Tennessee, to say the very least.
No. I think there could be some calls for Shane Steichen. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think that's fair.
There could be some calls for it because again, I think the Anthony Richardson experiment hasn't worked, and it's not on him, but like, at some point you have to be the guy who can actually like coach a quarterback. But Richardson's just too much of a video game prototype player.
Yeah, that's the thing. Shane Steichen hasn't been a quarterback. He's been given a guy that was drafted way too high and a guy that was put in way too early.
Yep.
And honestly, it would not surprise me if Shane Steichen ever admitted that part of the reason Richardson played so early was because Chris Ballard forced it.
Probably.
Chris Ballard is a guy who, yes, he's a good general manager, but good general managers have bad runs. That is looking like an early bust of a pick by Ballard and his crew. And honestly, if Shane Steichen goes, Chris Ballard should go too, because this was his guy.
He should.
This is his final guy. Like, there's no excuse.
And again, I think this is a bit harsh, but I think my last guy here is also Mike McDaniel in Miami, because I know he's a likable guy. He's a good head coach, but what does that get you? Miami, if they make the playoffs again for a third straight year with a third different quarterback, that's one thing, but like, it just hasn't worked. There's just something off about this team, and something off about the way that his style is with that team. It just doesn't.
We know what's off with that team, though. It's the health of the players. So is it the system? Is it the coaching, or do you want to put it on the GM for not having guys that can stay healthy? But it's specifically of the quarterback, but a lot of the players on the defense too.
Well, I think too. Just to point Justin as well, when we did the hot seat coaching episode. This is if McDaniel survives the season, he'll be the longest tenured head coach in Miami since Dave Wanstead, which was 2004 or 2005.
Well, it's been
the Dolphins. The Dolphins have not bounced around. They've bounced around between a lot of different head coaches in that time because the Rosses are not patient people, and also Miami hasn't been back to the AFC title game in 31 years.
Stephen Ross doesn't really have a choice though. Like you hired Chris Greer, and this is Chris Greer's guy. Like, if Bill Belichick is in North Carolina now, you're not going to be able to randomly sign him. Sean Payton is in Denver. You're not going to be able to take him away. And Tom Brady is partial owner of a team, so he's technically not allowed to play unless he quickly sells those stocks. So. Unless
they find a way to tamper and move up to number one and take Shedeur and get Dion.
Which maybe
time in Miami. Come on now.
I've already made that joke, but ultimately, no, I do get what you're saying, and there is some credence to it, but I don't see McDaniel being fired unless they get embarrassed by the Jets in this last game. Like if the Jets somehow win like 35-14, I could probably see
which could happen. Let's be honest. It would be like the Jets to win on their way out.
It could happen.
Yeah. They could. NFC side of things, when we go from like the bottom up, is Ryan Poles keeping his job?
I hope not. Not for the Bears' sake.
No, the Bears.
For Caleb Williams' sake.
The Bears need a hard reset over there. I think the real interesting question is going to be Dallas.
Right? Is Mike McCarthy still going to be the head coach?
His contract is up. They would have to go out and sign him to a new contract.
Which Jerry Jones has said that he's staying around as the head coach of this team, but how can you actually say that with this performance this year? I know they look totally listless.
You're right. But again, you can turn around and say, look at all these injuries.
Yeah.
Also, some underperformances. Like I pointed this out a couple weeks ago, I think to Rick, like DeMarcus Lawrence has just been a body over the last 5 years.
Well, but again, I think
Like
when
this
you're
roster needs an overhaul.
when you're coaching a team that has the expectations, even though it's not warranted, what the Dallas Cowboys have these expectations, this branding, and to have this be this embarrassing of a season for them, because let's be honest here, it's been pretty embarrassing when you're 4 games behind Washington in your division for second place. And especially last week when I know no Cooper, it's Cooper Rush and no CeeDee Lamb, but to lose to the Eagles 41-7, to lose to Kenny Pickett and my boy Tanner McKee 41-7, it's not ideal.
It's not ideal at all.
Yeah, I mean, but let's call a spade here. I mean, they're missing their starting quarterback. CD was not in that game, correct?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, so that's your top 2 offensive weapons there. Your offensive line hasn't been the same since you haven't redrafted. The running game has not been the same since you haven't since you got rid of Zeke the first time. It's just, and the defense is full of holes.
And again, playing? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So you're missing your top 3 players.
Yeah. But I also think, too, adding to that point as well, like you said, the running game has been the same. Look what Pollard's done in Tennessee. You could have had that production again on your team.
Which is a shame, because what's his name that they drafted a few years ago? Wasn't he just named to the Pro Bowl?
Which one?
Like the Cowboys tackle they drafted a few years ago, Smith. Didn't he just make the Pro Bowl?
I think so.
But it looks like they're rebuilding the offensive line again. They just made a horrible choice of running backs.
You have to, but I would say that the Titans' offensive line is in better shape than the Cowboys' offensive line at this point. Am I wrong?
No, I don't disagree with you. I just think
I think I disagree. I think the Cowboys' offensive line is better. There's just no running backs behind them this year. They had Zeke Elliott,
Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle.
Like, look, I'm sorry. I know it was a cool moment when Deuce Vaughn was drafted. Dude, like he's not making it in this league as a running back.
I think they're one of the few teams that still uses a fullback too. I think Hunter Lepke's still on that team.
Like generally speaking, I don't care if it may not show it statistically. The Cowboys just had 0 rushing attack, whether Dak was in or out of the lineup this year. Like the running attack was nothing, and they wasted a year behind that offensive line.
I agree.
And Zach Martin is still there. Like, granted, injuries in that this season, but Zach Martin, when healthy, that Cowboys offensive line is still pretty good, and they were healthier this year compared to last year. Even some would say they just had 0 rushing support whatsoever. There was no. It's the opposite of the last few years. Last couple of years, it was offensive line inconsistency. Running backs were there. This year, offensive line was a bit more consistent. 0 running backs whatsoever.
I just think that I feel like this year, Black Monday, there's going to be more games where we're like, oh, we could have guessed they would be fired. There's not going to be any surprise firings or anything like that. Like most of
the firings happened already.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a year where it's just going to be like, we know who's going to get the axe. Yeah. The surprise will be more so if like guys stay. Like if the Jaguars decide to keep Doug Peterson, that's a surprise to me.
If Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson are still employed, that just lets you know the Clown family just continues to ruin the sports franchises that they own.
I mean, Fulham ain't doing well either.
Gee, I wonder. Yeah, they can't run an American football team. They can't run a European football club. They can't run a wrestling promotion. What can they do?
Now my question is, which one of the teams that fires a head coach interviews Dennis Allen first? Which will make Jurg just absolutely thrilled. That week,
I'm going up the goddamn walls if Dennis Allen gets that coaching job.
When we find out that happens that week, I secede the Rant Podium top spot to Jurg just ranting about Dennis Allen.
If terrible head coaches get hired in this cycle, I'm ranting about it.
I think you should.
He's going to get hired, but I don't think he'll be a head coach.
Okay, yeah. I'll accept him being a coordinator. He should not in any way, shape, or form be a head coach again.
Of course, you do know what this means, though. We're saying that he won't be a head coach, and the Jets will hire him as the head coach.
Well, I mean, you guys are talking Mike Vrabel right now.
I like Vrabel as a head coach, though.
Also talking Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan. We're doing retreads.
Are they not considering Brian Flores? Like, do we think Brian Flores is going to get any head coaching interviews?
Well, Brian Flores is where? He's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So he can't technically be interviewed yet, right?
Yes, he can. Guys get interviewed during the postseason.
Well, no, like during the playoffs, like isn't there? Is there still not that rule that
you need permission from the team, and
you have to get permission.
I'm Minnesota. I'm not giving my defense
I'm not
coordinator.
And I hate to say this, but it's the truth. How many of those interviews are going to be Rooney rules? Because Brian Flores is an African American. I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
Well, that's why he sued the league.
Exactly. But nothing changed. So, It's like, oh, we have to interview you. Great, thanks. You don't like the fact that I've revitalized the Minnesota defense? Nah, we got to interview you because of the rule. Thanks.
I mean, I'm sure he's most likely going to get a opportunity to interview. Like, I'd be shocked.
Well, honestly,
defensive coordinators that have done a lesser job have gotten interviewed for season.
I honestly think he would do really well in Chicago. Put him
a good defense.
Yeah,
he would make Caleb Williams retire if the Tua stuff is true. Caleb Williams is retiring.
That's fine. Start Tyson's agent. That's fine.
No, I was gonna say I think Brian Flores to the Jets makes a lot more sense than Brian Flores to the Bears.
Not if he's going to be a good head coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's fair.
Exactly.
Give him
a shot in Chicago and see what happens.
The Jets probably want Brian Flores, but I don't know if Brian Flores would want to go to the Jets.
I don't think the Jets have any clue what they're doing, because if you're going to hire Louis Riddick out of ESPN to be the general manager of this team, you're clearly showing we have no clue what the heck we're doing.
Fair to say, the very, very least. All right, gentlemen, that was the discussion of Black Monday. Now, it's time. With some head coaches and general managers, their careers coming to an end, it's time for a current iteration of something to come to its end. It is the #SAOC 2024 Pick Challenge finale, to say the very least, where throughout the season, Rick, Justin, and I have gone through a trek week in and week out, picking four NFL games for ourselves on a 4-to-1 points basis scale, from most confident to least confident. We pick these games based off of lines brought to us by our friends at
ESPN Bet.
It helps decide what are considered upset picks, which we must all make always at least one upset pick. At the minimum, can be our 2-point for our lowest. We can pick a tie if we do so choose. It just has to be used with your 4-point pick to become a 5-point pick. There, so there is some upside to it. We go in a snake order, so it goes in terms of point standings from third, second, first, second, boom, in a serpentine format. Shout out to John Gruden, inspired to White Banana. So that being said, the last 2 years, if you have been listening to us for 3 years, first off, cool, awesome, thank you. And second off, you're familiar that normally we end up being a one-on-one showdown at the end of the season in previous years. But apparently, a puppet and the former champion are going to ruin this year. So there will be no Rock Cena twice in a lifetime for Justin and I. There will be no Cody versus Roman rematch at WrestleMania.
That is not true at all.
You've been teasing Justin and I in the chat this entire time. That's going to be a run by the mill. All of us make our picks and we go you. No. Have the power here.
I didn't say that. What I said to you is that it is going to be just like that. However, there's also going to be an undercard battle this year.
Explain to me the undercard and how this is working.
So in the past 2 years, the mascot at Week 18 has not had the ability to have enough points to catch the third place person.
Yes.
Therefore, there hasn't been a need for a one-on-one battle between third and fourth place. This year, there is a need for a third and fourth place battle. So I'm going head-to-head against the mascot in an 8-on-8 pick. You and Justin are going head-to-head in an 8-on-8 pick.
Wait. I'm so confused here. So what are we doing?
So I've picked my 8 games, and the mascot has picked his 8 games. So we're going head-to-head on, the games that we picked, basically. So we're picked the winners of those games.
So you're saying that Justin, from the game, so all the games are on the slate for you and the mascot, and then separately, Justin and I are also getting all the games.
Yes.
So we're basically, we might have, it can't be 4 because it's only 2 teams per game.
We're doing 2 different 8-on-8 battles.
Okay.
Is what we're doing. So you two are still fighting for the championship of the championship, but I'm fighting for the sanctity of keeping my integrity and keeping the show PG.
Wait. You think the show has any integrity whatsoever?
Well, my contributions do. I'm 134 episodes in without cursing here, so that's on the line.
It might break next week.
Exactly. So here's the deal. The deal is that I have a 7-point lead on the mascot right now. I'm at 98 points this year. The to the mascot's 91. Therefore, we're still in a battle because the first year that we did this, I was at 79 and the mascot was at 52. Yeah. So it was a done deal at that point.
Yeah, very much true.
Last year, you were miles ahead of the mascot, so it didn't matter. But this year, based upon the fact that the wheel hasn't been very kind to me this year around, Joey, I'm battling the mascot in my own personal 8-on-8 battle. But those games, those 16 games are still there for you guys to pick because Justin, while he's leading, he's not leading by an insurmountable bunch. Justin's lead is 6. It's 124 to 118. So that means that, Jurg, there's still a shot of you claiming the crown again, which again is why I put in our headlines, he has blown this lead before. So
yeah, I mean, I think it was an insurmountable lead in the first season, and that's why we did it this way, correct?
No. The first season was the DeMar Hamlin year. You were down by 2 going into that final week.
I thought that one of us had an insurmountable lead, and then we made it interesting.
No. It was I see. I've been under the impression that year one Justin had the lead going into the final week of the season.
No,
my idea. I thought Justin has had the lead both times.
He did not. So here's what happened in year one. Year one, week 17, Justin had the Buffalo-Cincinnati game as his 2-pointer on Monday Night Football. That was the DeMar Hamlin game.
Oh,
you were winning. You were winning the pitch challenge by, I think, 5 at the time.
Right.
We spun the wheel of chaos going into that because there wasn't a clear result. Justin got the 2x plus 1, which means that he got 3 points from the Cincinnati game because he had a perfect week because he won that game technically. So after that, you were leading by 2 going into that week 18. I laid out because there was no way I was catching you guys. Justin made the decision to pick a tie at 5 points.
Why'd you gotta mention that?
Okay, we can, first of all, that game should have been a tie. 1,000%. Irving Smith screwed me. All right, I was correct. That was the closest anyone will ever get to a tie ever.
That's very true.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I did pick it was 6-0
that tie.
Fine.
So,
I was gonna say, I think last season, one of the last 2 weeks when I knew I was out, I'm pretty sure I picked a tie somewhere.
No, that was me. Chargers Patriots 5-point tie, and I wore a tie in the show for that reason, and it was 6-0. And so last season, what happened was Justin was leading by 4 points. I picked the Steelers last year to win as my 4-pointer for the AFC on the Saturday, which was the tie. And then the results went out, and then I ended up winning by, I think, 7 or 8 points.
That's true.
But Justin had a 4-point lead going into the final week. So in year one, Jurg, you had the lead going in, and you held the lead. Wow. In year two, Justin had the lead, and I overcame the lead. I won't say that he blew it. I said, I overcame the lead.
Bottled it worse than Lando Norris on lap 1, turn 1.
This year, Justin has a 6-point lead. So it's the largest lead going into the final week that we've seen, but it's not an insurmountable lead because, again, the picks can be crazy. And Jurg, because of that, because you're behind, you have the first pick.
Yeah, but I've been so unlucky this year. Like, I think Justin's winning this no matter what. I mean, I'll take this, obviously, of course.
It's possible that he might, but again, remember
so wait, real quick. So hold on, I'm curious then.
Yeah.
Because let's just get this moving.
Yeah.
Are we going to do, for both of our matchups, are we doing the same thing where we do strictly NFC, then AFC or AFC, NFC, whatever order we're doing? Are we going to follow that tradition as well?
Keep the tradition as well, where it's you pick 4 AFC games and 4 NFC games in a 4-3-2-1 matchup.
Which I just want to clarify that for the people.
So let me tell you exactly what happened
AFC
here with
an NFC.
So Justin, what we've done the last 2 years, it's like we strictly focus on the AFC games and then the NFC games.
I don't remember that at all, but okay, let's do it.
Yeah, we did that. We did that each of the past 2 years. So let me give you a rundown of the picks for myself and for the Gopher for our little tete-a-tete, our little.
I like that. That really handicaps me.
Those are the rules. I mean, listen. If you win this year, we can change the rules next year, so you can have whatever rules you want. How's that sound for you? If you win, you get to set the rules.
I was gonna say, Justin, we're following the precedent. Like, how do you think I felt 2 years ago? Like,
I don't remember it being like that on purpose, but whatever. That's fine. Let's just go.
Okay. So in the battle between me and the Gopher, my AFC picks are in this exact order: Chargers at 4, Jaguars at 3, Bills at 2, Jets at 1. Gophers going in this exact order: Texans, Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals. 4-3-2-1.
Okay.
NFC, I'm going Rams, Cardinals, Saints, Lions. Gophers going Bears, Commanders, Giants, Panthers. And how do we determine this? I spun my own wheel of chaos getting into that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, that way, like whatever games the Gopher had, I just picked the opposite ones there too. So all 16 games are up for grabs between the two of you, meaning that 4 AFC and 4 NFC games. And if you want to start in the AFC, that's fine. I mean, I think we did that last year. So you want to
I'll
start
as the points leader, I'll let Justin pick which conference we go through first, since I'm getting the first pick.
Makes no difference to me, guys. Whatever you guys want to do.
Why is it every single time we give you a
well,
choice?
No, because I'll make the call here. We've started the last 2 years each with the AFC.
So this year
NFC will be this year. And if you recall, Jurg, how we got to the AFC last year, do you remember what happened?
Not at all.
You did, and this is why I'm the historian of the show. You had Justin and I in an F1 trivia challenge where Justin randomly pulled a number out of his butt and got the right answer for the manufacturer's championship for Ferrari. Yes.
There we go.
See, it's good that somebody actually, watches this show in reverse. Just to
kind of thank Christ, because we don't know.
Yeah. I read the history of this.
Listen, even if I could watch my life in reverse just to, figure something out, I think I would still be exactly where I am.
You can do that too. I mean, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I enjoy it because it gives me something to do while I'm driving to work. So, there you go. All right. So we're going to start with the NFC picks. So again, remember, it's 4 NFC and then 4 AFC. And this, again, we did not do serpentine format in week 18.
Oh, so we've just straight up gone back and forth.
Straight up. It's basically a case where, like I said, Justin, as the leader in the points, is the home team in baseball format style. So Justin will pick second in each inning, basically. So the 4-point pick, Jurg, then Justin's 4th, and Jurg's 3, then Justin's 3, etc. from there.
Okay.
So we're starting on the NFC. So
as long as we follow precedent, to me, honestly, that's the most important thing with the show. We follow precedent. So
you got it.
All right. So I'll go fast. My 4-point pick in the NFC, I'll go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay. Justin?
I'll go with the Packers.
Green Bay.
That was a great pick because that was going to be my 3-point. You son of a gun.
Sure. And remember, too, the upsets still count. You still have to pick an upset in each conference.
Yes.
So remember that. At 2 points or higher.
I'm just looking to see, like, I think Justin would agree with me here. We're not confident on any of these lines right now for upsets.
Very few.
Very
interesting.
Because it all depends on will teams start to bench guys in games.
Well, that's what makes Week 18 so difficult, too. Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I look at a team like the Rams, who right now are 6.5 underdogs, but I'm still imagining that they should want to play their guys, but Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams and all of them are listed as doubtful. So clearly the Rams just do not care about playoff positioning.
I think they're stuck where they are. I don't think they can move.
The way I look at it, I think I could have sworn Tampa could go above them if they win. If the Bucs win and the Rams lose,
didn't the Rams beat them head to head?
But does head to head make up for the 2 conference difference?
It does. I believe so. I think head to head's the first one.
Really?
I believe so.
Yeah. I think the NFL needs to change that because that's kind of stupid.
Why? If you beat that team outright, you deserve to be.
But you were better throughout. But the other team,
actually, no. So the Rams, a winner tie clinches the 3 seed, as well as a Bucs loss. But Jurg's right. If the Rams lose and Tampa Bay wins, Tampa Bay's the 3.
Come on now.
Oh, so they need to play.
Yeah.
But I'm so confused because they're saying everyone's doubtful.
Well, that might be legitimate injury. These are guys that are banged up all the time.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a fair point.
Yeah.
All right. Let me stop screwing about here. I'll make my picks.
Well, also, but by the way, for the Rams, it is Garoppolo starting. Not even Stafford.
All right. Well, yeah, that doesn't. Okay. You know what? Wait. What was Justin's pick?
Green Bay.
Packers.
I know I said the other team would win, but this is the only upset I kind of like. I'll go with the Vikings at my 3.
Ooh, that's a dicey pick, but I like it. It's bold.
I don't like it, but
it's bold. Justin.
Commies.
Washington. So Justin is locked into an upset at the 2.
Correct.
Jurg?
I will go with, I'm just trying to confirm the matchups left, but I think I've tabulated this properly. At least I think I have. Give me, the man wants to make money. Give me the Seahawks at 2.
All right, that's Seattle. So Justin, you have to pick an upset here. Let me give you the teams that are underdogs going into their game. San Francisco, 4.5 point underdog against Arizona. Giants, 2.5 points on the Eagles. Panthers are a 7.5 point dog in Atlanta. So you got to go upset here with one of those teams: Niners, Giants, or Panthers.
Give me the consolation prize for the New York Giants.
Okay.
They got nothing. They got no reason to win. The Giants are slowly morphing into another Jets.
Yes, sir.
Where they just win games they shouldn't have any business winning.
Yeah, no,
but they should beat a team's backup players with nothing to play for. I honestly, Sirianni might not even be paying attention. Like they don't care about this game. They care. If anything,
He's so
it would be funnier for them if the Giants won. They'd be like, look at that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's better for them if the Giants win this game.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree with that. No Barkley in this game. No Hurts in this game. So, they've
got a lot of starters that are out.
And Kenny Pickett has sore ribs, so this might be Tanner McKee's first.
Pickett was officially starting, but they said you might see Tanner McKee halfway through.
Yeah. All right. So, Jerg, you got the Carolina-Atlanta game or the San Fran-Arizona game remaining?
Falcons won by 1.
Okay. And Justin? San Francisco or Arizona?
Who's going to pick the Panthers?
Well,
Were you actually?
Yeah.
Sorry.
This would be classic Atlanta to drop this game.
Oh, 100%. I'm expecting to get my heart torn out.
So I have to pick the 49ers in the Cardinals game?
Right.
Yes,
that's
that
the
is the
last game.
Is Kyler playing?
Kyler is playing because he's got that contract incentive.
Can't wait for him to put up 33 points when I bench him.
Playing.
I cannot wait for Kyler to put up 33 points when I bench him on Sunday.
Yeah, how about that?
Let's pick the Niners. I feel like they're getting it scrappy today.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So to recap that, Jerg went Tampa, Minnesota, Seattle, Atlanta. Minnesota was your upset pick. Justin, you went Green Bay, Washington, the Giants with your upset at 2, and San Francisco also an upset at 1 point. Now we go into the 5th inning of this, which is the AFC. So, Jerg, AFC picks. You're up first.
I already got my 4-point locked in. Give me the Ravens.
Baltimore. Justin.
The Chargers.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Can I just say I'm so thankful we don't have to worry about covering because the Ravens will destroy Cleveland. I don't know if they're going to cover.
Big difference. I'm going to pick them pool this week, and we avoided that game. It was 17 when we went in.
And it's 20 now.
So I do not blame y'all to say the very least.
All right, Jerg at 3.
My upset pick.
Ooh.
I got to be bold here. Like fortune favors the bold sometimes, eh? I got to see. Here's the thing. This is a team that even though they're going to play their backups, they have a couple decent backup players on their team, and I think 1 or 2 of their starters. One of their guys we talked about earlier has something to play for in terms of a statistical output. Look, sometimes you need a great general to lead you into battle. General Davis Mills and the Houston Texans to overcome the Tennessee Titans, because the Titans should be trying to lose this game to get the first overall pick. So give me the Texans with my 3-point upside.
You're right, Jerg. I completely agree with you. And honestly, I think that the Patriots are way worse than the Titans. And Drake May's not even starting this week.
That's true.
So give me the Mitch Trubisky-led Buffalo Bills.
Okay. So again, Justin's locked into
a 2-point
upside. Yep. All right, Jerg. At 2.
I do have the schedule in front of me, but can you just list me the 4 games left exactly?
Cincinnati, Pittsburgh is remaining, as is Miami and the Jets, Kansas City and Denver. And hold on. Let me just make sure if I lost it here. Hold on. So you pick Baltimore, Houston, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh.
Jags, Colts, is that the last game?
Jacksonville, Indianapolis, yes. So Cincy, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Indy, Jets, Dolphins, and Chiefs, Broncos.
I'm going to put a shotgun to my mouth if the Broncos don't win this freaking game. So give me the Broncos with my 2-point pick.
Okay. So, Justin, your upsets are the Jets because they're 1-point dogs against the Dolphins.
I'm not going to pick that.
I know. The Jaguar. Well, I mean, Jerk might make you pick them at 1. The Jaguars.
I won't take it.
Okay. The Jaguars are 4-point dogs, and then the Steelers are 2.5-point dogs with Cincinnati.
Do I pick a good team in a tough matchup or a bad team in a bad matchup?
Or the game that doesn't really matter, which is the Colts.
Let's go with friend of the show, Mike Tomlin.
Hey.
Playing at home. They're a good team. They should, in theory, beat this team. They did beat them last year. I know the Bengals are hot. I don't want to pick against them, but I think it's the right call in terms of the two, matchups I have left.
Okay.
Rick, I have a question to ask after you relist our AFC picks for the people.
Yep, go for it.
So, but once again, after. So my 1 point pick. So I'm between the Colts-Jags game and the Jets-Dolphins game.
Correct.
So F the Colts. I'm not picking them again. I'm not picking that game. Screw them.
You're going to pick Trent Baalke?
I'm not picking anyone in that game.
You both could walk away from your 1 point pick in an unprecedented move here.
Wait,
you don't have wins either way.
I was going to say, I despise the Khan family. And I know Justin doesn't want to pick. Hold on, wait, not zero. Justin, do you want to give each of us 1 point right now? We don't make a pick.
No, make the pick.
Okay,
if you're going to make the pick, make the pick. If you're
you're
not going to make the pick, I'm not taking. I will
matter.
not take that game. I'm going to win this on my own merits, and I'm not going to sacrifice.
Question is Aaron Rodgers and you made a deal with the devil. We already know that. Is Aaron Rodgers and co playing in this game?
Yeah, I believe I haven't heard of any opt-outs for the Jets on this one. So yeah. The only opt-out that I've heard is obviously Tagovailoa with a bad hip. So it's gonna be Snoop Hundley.
Jalen Waddle, I believe, is also out.
Waddle's back.
Waddle's back?
Waddle's likely to return.
Okay.
And the Jets are projected to at least start their players, correct?
Well, Gardner's out. Quinnen Williams, Conklin, Moses, and Vera Tucker are all questionable. They're all game time decisions. And by the way, the Jets are on a new kicker once again. It's Greg Joseph this time.
Who cares?
I know.
Yeah, that's true. God, this is going to be funny either way. Give me the Jets with my 1 point pick.
Ooh. All right then. So Justin, it's between Jacksonville and Indy for you then. Which is it's so ironic that in week 18 you have to pick an AFC South game.
I don't know if I picked one all year. No, I did. I definitely picked the Jaguars.
You've definitely picked them at least once or twice.
It's been 18 weeks. You definitely picked the AFC South game at some point in your life, whether by force or by choice.
I'm sure all three of us have like a go-to division. I don't think any of us could say we haven't picked a division.
But Pittsburgh's my go-to. Friend of the show, Mike Tomlin. Man. Come on.
Sure.
I will go with the Colts.
All right, Indy. So Jerg's AFC picks are Baltimore, Houston, Denver, and the Jets. Houston and the Jets are upset picks. Justin goes Chargers, Bills, Steelers, and Colts. Steelers are an upset pick for you at the AFC. Now, Jerg, what was your question?
So in the last 2 years, we had to go off of, in case by the grace of the gods, if Justin and I are tied by points at the end of this, we've gone with the national championship game.
Correct.
To break the tiebreaker. Now, that was back with just 4 teams. There are more than 4 right now.
Correct.
Are we going to – is there any college football tiebreaker that we want to put here for fun? Or
yes, there will be. So obviously we have the semifinals that have kicked in. Of the quarterfinals have kicked in, so the semifinals are waiting. So here's what's going to happen. Jerg, you're going to pick – the Texas-Ohio State game, whichever team you pick to go to the title game. Justin will automatically be selected as the opposite one. So if you pick Texas, Justin will get Ohio State. Justin, you will pick between Notre Dame and Penn State. Whichever team you select, Jerg will get the opposite. So essentially, I'm looking for what is your national title game matchup.
Okay.
That's what's going on. So Jerg, you have Texas or Ohio State?
I'll pick Ohio State.
Okay, so Justin, you're locked in with Texas, and then Justin, you will choose Notre Dame or Penn State.
Penn
State.
I'll never take Notre Dame.
That's fair. So Jerg, you're locked in with Notre Dame. So what's going to happen there is that each of those is going to count for. We'll go with a half point on each because it's 2 teams. So it'll be one full point. So if the matchup is. You could each earn a half point, let's say. You could each earn a half point, or you could earn 1 full point, depending on how it shakes out. So if it's Ohio State versus Penn State, you each earn half a point, and we'll still be tied. And then we go to Rochambeau. Why the hell not?
On a Rochambeau,
because why the hell not?
Well, if we each get half a point, then wouldn't we just choose the finals?
Yeah, you could do that too if you wanted to.
I was gonna say, are we gonna record in time to be able to do that, or do we just do
Yeah,
that
the
behind the
finals
scenes?
is until the 20th.
Yeah, the finals are on Monday night.
It's that late. Holy
Yeah.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah. Like I said,
Can you tell how much I care about college football playoff right now?
I
We have a
doubt
week.
we're even gonna
We'll
need
probably
that.
record again before. We might record again if we could record during the week before these games go off. The
That's
games
true.
that we just discussed.
That's true.
7 and 8 days away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's accurate. So, yeah.
Oh my god, what is happening? Okay. Whew. The pick challenge finale is something to say, the very least, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to be interesting.
So just so you guys are aware, also the way this shakes out on Saturday, based upon the results, either Justin will be up on Jurg by 8 points or by 4 points, I think. Or wait, is it 6 now? 126, 122. So it'll be 4 points, or it'll be 126 to 118. If Baltimore wins, Joe will get 4 points. It'll be 122. Justin wins with Pittsburgh, it'll be 126. So it'll be a 4-point lead. But if Cincinnati wins in that game,
2, 4, 6, or 8.
exactly.
That boy, Justin.
Math. Hey, look at that. Justin's actually working on math.
There we go.
So by Saturday, we'll know.
You guys gotta start taking some tests or something. I'm bad.
No, I'm terrible at that. By Saturday night after the games, we'll know if the Sunday games really mean a damn, or if it's just going to be Justin riding the bike down the Champs Elysees in France, like the Tour de France with the champagne flute in his hand, like I'm the champion, and no one's going to catch me. So
That'll never.
See what happens. We'll see what happens.
What, you riding a bike?
No.
Champagne
Look, let's get to the end of the show, goddammit. Rick, take us home with the first Rant Podium of 2025.
Oh God. Oh, this is a spicy one, let me tell you. I'm also going to try and keep it it's 10:20 at night, so I'm going to try and keep myself a little more subdued because I've got somebody sleeping next to me, and so I don't want to wake them up, which, by the way, is not who you think it is. It's Sienna, clearly. So, she's out cold.
Baby's asleep. Your baby wasn't just like sleeping on the couch every night.
You don't know my parenting style.
That's true, but that doesn't mean I wasn't hopeful for it.
Well, that's fine. Number 3 on my Rant Podium this week is going to be the NBA, because the marketing idea of Dunk the Halls with the Disney characters and the gingerbread men just shows you why corporate monopolies are a travesty. Like, there's no reason for Disney to get involved in the NBA and ABC whatsoever. The fact that it was a game that I think featured somebody in Monica McNutt doing commentary of gingerbread men acting as Victor Wembanyama and Karl Anthony Towns is just a joke. It's a nightmare. And also, who's watching that part of the game? The kids are probably busy playing with their toys or yelling that they didn't get the PS5 they wanted. So who gives? What is this for? Why are we doing this? It's stupid. It's inane. And I think it should never be done again. Then again, watch out for slime time later on with the NFL, because let's be honest here, what do the NFL playoffs need? SpongeBob telling you what a penalty is all about. Like, it makes no freaking sense whatsoever. Number 2 on my list. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this. We're going into January. We're going into the winter season. And we're going into the season where it's time for meteorologists to make a lot of money on making wrong predictions. Where's the snow? You said it was going to snow tonight. Where's the snow? I don't see it out there. How is it that meteorologists and politicians get paid to be wrong, and I get paid to just do a job? Where's the money that I get for being the prognosticator and for writing a podium and for doing all this stuff? Where's the money that Justin gets for going to Fish concerts and for losing games via ties? Where's that? Where's the money that Jurg gets for whatever it is that Jurg does? No one clearly knows what he does. He's very clandestine in his nature. It looks like you. It looks like you're like in a hostel in Grozny, Czech Republic right now with the curtain over your eyes. It's ridiculous. Like, where's the money that we deserve? We deserve our own money. So if I'm a meteorologist and I get paid to be wrong, that's great. But you know what? I should get paid for that because I'm right. Like, let's be honest here. That's what we do here. Number 1 on my Rant Podium this week. I have a problem, guys. A serious, serious problem. And not the one you're thinking of. So there was a clip from a YouTube awards show from a while ago where literally, like, I guess they're talking to Norm Macdonald, and I'm sure you've seen this clip before. And he's talking about all the celebrities, quote unquote, that are going to be at this thing. And he utters the line, "All the stars are here. All the stars." Which reminds me of, like, why are we saying welcome back or thank you to people that have just played on our team for like 2 months? Did you see this with the Orioles thanking Corbin Burns for a half year of service after he gets paid a $210 million to go to the Arizona Diamondbacks? Why does every single solitary athlete need a gosh darn tribute video from the team that they played on for barely half a season? Like, I'm a Mets fan by choice and also because I have a sad life. That's what it is. When they gave Mark Hanna a welcome back tribute video after 2 seasons of being on the team, it was like, but why? I get it, but what did you do in those 2 seasons? You didn't do a damn thing. When Kevin Durant went to Phoenix, and then they were saying, like, oh, do you think you'll get one in Brooklyn? He's like, yeah, look at what I did. Look at the stats that I put up when I was in Brooklyn. Like, did you win a damn thing? No, you didn't. So all of these things that are like, oh, we have to air this tribute video for this person. It's like, I cannot wait for, and I'm sure this has happened at some point, but I also cannot wait for colleges to start doing this now because of the transfer portal. Like, I seriously cannot wait for the Caden Salter Liberty University welcome back video because he's now the Colorado University quarterback after Shedeur Sanders. Like, are you serious? Why is that a thing? Why is this important? I cannot wait for the Ace Bailey Rutgers welcome back video after he transfers from 1 year to Duke, because let's be honest here, you ain't winning a damn thing at Rutgers, so what's the point? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I also think it would be hilarious if, like, one of these, like, NASCAR or F1 teams, like, McLaren or, one of these stars, they put out like a 5-minute social media piece of like a thank you to a driver who left them for Red Bull. Like, that'll never happen. You will never see that happen. So why is it a thing that we have to do with sports? Why has sports gotten so soft? And why is this a marketing gimmick that now every team feels like they have to do? Like, nobody cares. And you know how we know when nobody cares? When you wish somebody a happy birthday and 5 years later you cut them and release them from your own team. Like, it's a fickle business. We all understand that. Stop being two-faced. If you're going to do that, you're not allowed to welcome anybody back or say thank you to anybody for their service to your team when you didn't win a damn thing. So, to all you sports owners out there, you're on the watch list. If I see any more of these, I'm coming after you with a nice, sharp pen to write a very strongly worded letter telling you that you're doing a very bad job.
And with that being said, which, by the way, I think when in the off season, when we do get like in some episodes to like talk about other stuff, I think we do need to discuss that topic because it's something we could have a good conversation about.
About me writing a nicely, strongly worded letter to these sports owners?
Sure, but also the modern sports culture of guys leaving and how teams react to it. That
oh yeah, of course.
And NIL also that also deserves some conversation.
Listen, like I said to you guys in the chat, I basically told my infant daughter's babysitter, you cannot say the name of the guy you were trying to teach him because he's no longer on your team. He tried to teach my baby how to say Capo Caco, and now he's on the Kraken.
Yeah. So
can't do that anymore, can you? Fortunately, I had the presence of mind to say, let's change it to gobble, gobble, and now she gobbles like a turkey instead, so it works.
Perfection. Perfection. Yeah. The future of America, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this week's edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. We went over the important games and scenarios for Week 18. We went over the fact that the Pick Challenge, the championship, is going to be decided. We've made note of the fact that fantasy is also happening for me. I could go 0-2 in championships this week, and if I do, I will take a long walk off a short pier, to say the very least. There are no piers anywhere near me right now in CT, but I'm sure I'll find one in some way, shape, or form and Uber my way to it, to the very least. And we went over what could happen on Black Monday, fun incentives and milestones that could happen, the whole 9 yards. Next week begins our playoff preview. We're going to be very excited about that. We're going to go over the wild card matchups. We're going to predict it, and that's what we're going to do in each round of the postseason up to the Super Bowl, favorite time. And then after that is the offseason, which just got to put it out there early. the return of the 3-round mock. It's always fun, isn't it? That's in the long term. This is the short term. SAOC, now, then, forever, fun, football, and chaos. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next time on the program. Take care.